Mark Out of 10, the wrestling podcast where two dicks dictate the down low in professional wrestling. We're going to chat about the latest that's happened this week and then discuss the top 10 heels of all time in wrestling in our Moo 10 list, because everyone loves a bad boy. First up, I'm the Mark Shields, and my co-host, the man who runs his mouth like he runs the ropes, the bell-to-bell bell end, the housewife's favourite heel, Hoxie.
The bell-to-bell bell end, that's the best one. That's it. That's the best one yet. That's amazing.
How you doing, Hoxie? How you doing?
I'm good. Really good. I am so fucking excited to do tonight's show. It feels like ages since we've done the last one.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I just love talking about wrestling heels, and I love talking about wrestling, and there's loads of stuff going on. Breaking news items, fun discussions to have. We've got some really good stuff lined up tonight. I'm very, very much looking forward to it. How are you?
I'm not bad.
What say you?
What say me? I'm not too shabby. It's always busy, right? It is always busy, but I'm looking forward to spending the next couple hours with you, my friend, talking about heels and all things wrestling. It's going to be good shit.
Whoa.
Woo indeed. So how's your week been though? Be good?
It's been busy. I've been away this week for work, like IRL stuff. Really, really busy. I'm really looking forward to the weekend and just sort of switching off and chilling out and stuff. But yeah, mate, it's, you know what it's like. Like you've just said, it's just everything's busy, right? Could do with an extra hour in the day sometimes, but we can't.
Fuck that! I'd end up working it. Fuck that.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah, fuck that.
Nah.
Can we take an hour off? We'll take an hour off.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the weekend, and I'm looking forward to next week as well, because I've only got a 3-day working week. I've got Thursday, Friday, where I'm going down to see our friend Darth, who's the owner of Streamerware. You know what? I'm staying overnight on the Thursday, reasonably close to you, so potentially we could meet up for a bit of dinner before we do the podcast. I don't know. Potentially. Wait and see what happens, if you're about.
How about we could do a podcast together?
Oh, it's dead dirty. Yeah, I mean, we can arrange it. I don't know. It's literally just as soon as I saw your lovely face, I've just thought about that there just now.
Oh my god!
Oh my god! Because I've got give me a second. Hashtag content creator here, right? I've actually got these portable microphone things, and I've got 2 of them, Hoxie. So we could mic ourselves up.
The Roman mics. Look at that.
Pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, I can hook that up to
all the gear, mate.
Fucking no idea.
All the gear. You know exactly what he's doing with it.
I don't know. It's really cool. I can use my phone. I can put my laptop. We can have different angles, and then I've also got this DJI Pro fucking camera thing.
Is that the one that you brought to Paris?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we went to TwitchCon in Paris, and it was fucking epic. So yeah, we could arrange it in different places.
Oh my god, a 3-camera shoot.
Yeah.
Are we gonna have
4 camera? You could bring your camera too.
Holy shit!
Mark, I mean, it's probably not going to happen. It's going to be 1 camera, let's be honest.
We can't get it to work. Fucking
I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah.
Oh dear.
We'll go back to no video. Anyway, let's move on. Like Hoxie says, we've got a few. And before we actually go on, you'll notice I'm wearing a hat today. It's because I'm sort of currently wearing my Hulk Hogan look, where my hair is really, really getting long, but I'm balding because I'm old as fuck.
You're old as hell.
Basically the light would shine off my dome. So Hoxie wants me to dye this bit of mustache, and I could have a proper
1,000,000% need to bleach that bit. Just bleach the like a big goatee into there. It'd look amazing. Or go for the Tamatonga look. Just like all the way through. Punisher. Be fucking brilliant. Go on to your next works team's call looking like Tamatonga. It'd be just amazing. Oh, Sting! It'd be brilliant.
Yeah, I still think that would have been cool if I came to the Sting one with just this Honestly, bit here.
I would have died. I would have died. It would have been so good.
Anyway, we digress. We do chat shit in this podcast, but you know this, the avid listeners of Mark Out of 10. So, but let's get on to the news and the happenings in wrestling just now. And it's a sort of breaking news moment. So as you all know, we record this on a Thursday, and around 6 o'clock UK time today, PW Insider reported that John Laurinaitis has filed a waiver with the US District Court of Connecticut on Wednesday, which basically means he's issued his response to Janelle Grant's lawsuit. So obviously it was well documented, the Janelle Grant lawsuit against WWE, Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis, like the sex trafficking thing. We talked about it a bit when it was first revealed. What this waiver means, Hoxie, is it basically, instead of him being served with a lawsuit, it just makes the courts aware that he is indeed aware of the lawsuit and he's going to respond to it within the next 60 days. And that actually starts from the 15th of March. So like last week, essentially. Now, obviously, WWE or Vince McMahon haven't really responded with something similar. They've obviously, Vince has denied the allegations, etc., but there's been no legal documentation served where he's actually acknowledged it.
Mm-hmm.
If that happens, then the lawsuit is basically put into motion and then a start date for the trial will be revealed. Do you think Laurinaitis is just saving his own... He's obviously saving his own skin, or he's trying to, and just trying to expedite the process and maybe force the hand a little bit?
Yeah, maybe look sort of compliant with it, and sort of like he's trying to help out and get involved and stuff, and move things along and look nice and helpful and respondent. So it's a weird one. I'm no fucking lawyer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm no lawyer at all, and all this sort of stuff is almost lost on me. I need somebody to explain it in very, very simple terms. Almost use pictures. It would be quite nice little picture book. This is how it works. But yeah, or no, I can't do that bit. Good shit. But yeah, it's like I said, the fact Vince or WWE haven't sort of done anything about it says a lot. Maybe they were hoping it would go away. I don't know. Or if we ignore it, look what's happening over here. Like maybe something would be done. But like you say, I think everyone will be out for themselves. Everyone's going to try and save face or try and help themselves and get out of each other's way or whatever. So
yeah.
It
is going to be interesting with WWE because I think it has been very quiet from their end. Obviously, we've heard Vince's side, denial. We've heard John Laurinaitis, but we haven't really heard a lot. Like obviously, TKO have came out and said that Vince is no longer associated. Blah blah blah. But obviously, we've heard that like Triple H has been sort of implicated a little bit. Steph, etc.
Nick Khan's name got brought
exactly,
up.
Yeah. So it's going to be really interesting to see how, if there's any shifts or if there's any public shifts inside, and whether that is an indicator of how guilty, in inverted commas. Obviously, everybody's innocent until proven guilty, but it's definitely going to be interesting. And obviously, this isn't Vince's only thing that's going on. Obviously, there's this thing with Janelle Grant, but there's also an additional thing with the hush money, right, and the NDAs and the illegal NDAs, and it's the federal investigation. So he's going to be fighting a battle on two fronts, as old Vinnie Mac.
As we've said this before, like Jerry McDivitt, his lawyer, who's been around forever and done everything. He was around for the steroid trial and all the shit, everything that he's done. The back end of last year, he was like, "I'm retiring. I'm going to leave Vince and WWE in our council and move on, and I'm just going to go and sit on a beach somewhere and put my feet up." That probably says all it needs to say, really. When he's been through everything with Vince and all the shit we do not know, and it's starting to come around and sort of bite him in the arse or whatever, and obviously all this new shit, he's like, nah.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
We ain't winning that one, mate. I'm going to go and sit on the beach. I'm fucking 80 or whatever. Vince, cheers, fella. Cheers for those millions of dollars, and I'll catch you on the next one. Like, that's basically what it's boiled down to, hasn't it, really? So I think that genuinely, that says more than anything we'll hear in any like report, fucking sports Peter or wrestling. Nothing. Meltzer, all these reporters in big inverted commas, like that says all it'll need to say. Until that judge puts the hammer down and says, I think that's a real damning period and point on the on the discussion, to be fair. But we'll see. Time will tell. But there's no smoke without fire.
Yes, absolutely.
Burn, baby, burn.
We all
Just
know that
going
Vince
for
is
it.
he's a wrongin, right? He is
He's
a
a
wrongin.
fucking wrongin. Yeah, there's a few of them who are wrongins as well.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll wait and see what happens. But that's sort of breaking news that was released through the grapevine earlier on today. So we thought it was...
Vince, you're looking so vascular tonight.
Fucking hell. Anyway, speaking of being a wrongin, there's also been a few stories about Ronda Rousey as well. Now, Ronda Rousey has got her new autobiography coming out on April 4th. It's called Our Fight. Available in all bookstores near you. And there's a quote that I think is quite interesting, and I'm just going to go on a quote here. Pay-per-views are held in major cities like New York, Los Angeles, and Philadelphia, as well as now twice a year in Saudi Arabia, a nation that restricts the rights of women in a way that I'm certain Vince McMahon wishes he could. Fucking hell. That's not so good. So yeah, that's the first bit I want to touch on. And also Ronda came out and said that she doesn't ever intend to return to WWE, and she calls the company and I quote, a shit show behind the scenes, and that she effectively retired due to concussions that she got in UFC that she hid from WWE. Thoughts, Hoxie?
I don't know if there's maybe a bit of like, I don't know, obviously this is just information that's come out now. You told me about this literally before we went on air, so I haven't looked into this. I haven't seen anything. Is it sour grapes? Is it a bit of bitterness that the second run didn't turn out the way she wanted it to? Is she piling on with all the stuff that's come out about Vince? I've just seen a quote really quickly, like while we were running through. She's talked about Johnny Laurinaitis and Bruce Pritchard, and she said she's singled them both out to basically go fuck themselves. And she was unable to talk more in the book because there was a strict word limit in the book, and her editor told her that she couldn't speak about them because she had to keep everything to 90,000 words. So fuck off. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. Like I think Ronda was a great addition. I thought there was like two people in that UFC around that time that I thought were like slam dunkers coming across the WWE and making a shitload of money, but making a massive difference. One was Ronda, and the other one was Connor. So it's 50-50. Like it's one of them. It's not too bad, but her first run was amazing. She that debut that she came in was Royal Rumble, wasn't it? When Charlotte won the Rumble.
Yeah.
Her coming into like bad reputation with fucking Piper's jacket on and stuff, and just being an absolute badass for that first run was really good. Like she was doing house shows, she was training, like she was doing shows, she was like grafting. It's almost like with Logan coming in and sort of getting involved and doing some good shit. But I think her coming out and saying this stuff, she's probably piling on. There will be some stuff to it because the second run they had was terrible. Really poor. So there's way more to it than that. But you were saying, go on.
No, I was going to say that the second run was really bad, but I think that's not just down to WWE. I think that's down to her as well, because her plateau was really quick. Like, for someone that was such a talented fighter, but also like as a sports person, she's like Hall of Fame worthy, right? I think that goes without saying. But I was really surprised at how poorly she took it up, and you know how quickly she plateaued and just didn't get any better. It's like
I think I don't think she was poor. I thought she was half decent. She's not Logan Paul level, you know what I mean? But in that women's division, she could go in there with somebody who could bring her along and she could do her stuff. It was difficult for her to sell, but it's not a natural thing. It's really difficult to get. But I think for what she did, for her presentation, it kind of worked. I thought she was half decent. I'm not saying she's the best, like the second coming or anything like that, but she was a half decent sports entertainer.
See, it's interesting because, you know, I don't even compare her to like a Logan Paul or any of the new women. What I compare her to is like a Shayna Baszler. and it's chalk and cheese. I think Shayna has got it down to a T. Like she is
I mean,
a sports
Shayna was
entertainer.
training in NXT though, wasn't she? She wasn't.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
She came along and was that transition, and she was trained at the Performance Center for a long time before she was ever on telly or NXT. With Ronda, it was like shit. We've got Ronda. She's a fan, so she kind of watches stuff. We can train her a little bit, but it's like bang. She got threw out in there straight away.
Yeah, fair dues.
So it's a different. You can't compare her to Shayna. It's a similar presentation. I think Shayna is a better sports entertainer than Ronda is. But she's just a bigger name, and it was quick. You had to get out there, bang, get involved. And I would imagine like all this stuff that she's saying now, like I can see a quote on here. Ronda Rousey criticizes the casting couch culture in WWE. Like she would never have had to deal with that. She's piling on with that. She probably heard about it or saw it or whatever, but she wouldn't have had to do that to get signed. Like it doesn't work that way for her. So it's a little bit. I think there's a lot of sour grapes. I'm not saying what's happened is right at all, or I'm not trying to defend it in any way, shape, or form. But they're all fuckers. Like I said, we just said he's a fucking wrong, and there's a lot of wrong uns there. But she would never have had to deal with that. The only thing that she would have had to deal with is somebody who knew better than her in wrestling telling her what to do, and she not liking it. So that's probably where like stuff, because Bruce he was SmackDown boss sort of producer. So he would have been saying to her, this is what you need to go and do. Don't do it like that. You need to go and do this. And I'm fucking Ronda Rousey. That's probably the conversation. I don't think Bruce would have tried it on with her. For a start, Bruce would get put on his ass in fucking 0.3 of a second. It was probably Johnny who was doing that sort of stuff. But I think there's probably a bit of sour grapes there. She's piling on, and she's trying to sell a book.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like I say,
I'll fucking read it probably, because I think it would be quite a decent read. Of all the women stars, she's a star. She's been around the block. She's done lots of stuff. It'd be good fun, but I can only stick to so many words, so I can't talk about people. But buy my book, get in a bin.
It's a bit of a shame for her because, obviously UFC merger eventually. It's like it came like how many years was that now? That's
5, 6.
So it's like, she just missed it because she would have came in as an absolute fucking superstar. Well, obviously she did, but I think even more so.
Yeah.
And Rock was big on her as well. So
yeah. I love that music.
And that's the end of Market at 10 for the evening. Thanks for that. Oh, Jesus Christ.
I love it.
Okay.
Love it. I need to get some WD-40 on this chair, by the way, because this comes straight through.
To be fair, that just sounds like my knees, usually.
It's my neck. Gotta look around to the camera. Snap, crackle, pop, baby. Oh, dear.
Okay,
Too many fucking bumps.
So, what's the feeding? I'm fucking honest to God, my head's away. So last week's episode, we talked about William Regal. Okay, there's absolutely no feeder into this segment because I've just totally lost my train of thought, so we're just going straight into it, right? So last week's episode we talked about William Regal. If you haven't checked out our TikTok and our Instagram page, please make sure you go and do that. It's all at Mark Out of 10. And we talked about William Regal being the best British wrestler of all time, right? And we are in agreement with that. Now, I was surprised at the couple of comments that we got that actually disagreed with this. And I'm going to just read a couple of them just now, okay? So first of all, it was on our TikTok. It was a guy called Stephen Samblin said, Regal's a good wrestler, but Ospreay is 10 times better. We responded, Ospreay's a talent in the ring, without a doubt. His mic work is getting better, which it is in the current AEW program, and it is definitely getting better. But as an overall wrestling talent, he's still behind Regal for me. He then responded with a prime Regal versus modern day Ospreay, who's winning? And then we responded, Regal every day of the week.
Or whoever's booking it, maybe.
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah. But the real sort of substance was on our Instagram. It was Tyler Anthony Davis. He said he is successful, but I wouldn't put him first. I wouldn't put him first personally. Wrestlers like the British Bulldog, Will Ospreay, Paige, Drew, Zack Sabre Jr. are all either better wrestlers or more successful than Regal, but I do hear the shout for his influence behind the curtain post-retirement, and this isn't me mocking his in-ring ability, but I think there have been a lot of other British wrestlers that were better than him, especially recently. Love Regal, though. It's a fair point. Everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Can you just go back and just read the list of wrestlers who he said on again for me?
British Bulldog,
Yep.
Will Ospreay,
Yeah.
Page, Drew McIntyre, Zack Sabre
Zack
Jr.
Sabre Jr. are
Right,
all
so
better than William Regal.
So we responded, to be honest, this is what Market Attend's all about, fans giving opinions on wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends on the definition of what a wrestler is. If it's about the moves that are done in ring, I would say that Ospreay is a shout. Okay, but in terms of just general moveset, it's outrageous. If it's about size, then you've got to talk about Drew and Bulldog in the conversation. Then we said, in our opinion, William Regal encapsulates what we think wrestling should be. It would be rubbish if we all thought the same, though. You know, and it is. It's a matter of opinion, okay? And
it's art, guys. It's art. I think some bitch sleeping in a bed for a month and then selling it for millions of dollars or pounds or whatever, I think that's bullshit. And I love a good painting. Somebody might like that stuff. You know what I mean? It's one of them. It's art, guys. I don't. Once again, I'm not shitting on this guy on Tyler, but you can't tell me British Bulldog is better than William Regal or has been more successful than William Regal. You can't tell me Page has been more successful than William Regal. Drew is a great wrestler. He's won the big one, obviously, albeit with no fucking fans there. There's always going to be that caveat and that asterisk next to that, by the way. And Zack Sabre Jr. is nowhere fucking near on the same level as William Regal. Zack Sabre Jr. is a great wrestler. I've wrestled on the same show as Zack Sabre Jr. back in the day, and he's fucking phenomenal. But he is nowhere in the same conversation than William Regal in terms of how successful he has been in wrestling, in professional wrestling. Fuck me.
I would say out of everybody on that list, Will Ospreay is probably the best shout in terms of bell-to-bell wrestler. He's probably up there, right?
Yeah, he's one of the fucking, probably he will go down probably now as one of the best
of all time.
Yeah, well, especially in the modern era, definitely.
100%. Yeah. But for me, and you'll probably agree with this, for me, a bell-to-bell wrestler is good, right? In terms of the moveset that you have, you want to invest the crowd and get them like cheering or booing or whatever the case may be if you're a heel or a babyface. But there's much more to it than just the moves that you perform, right? It's about the psychology of it. It's about how you sell. It's about your facial expressions. And for me, William Regal, his facial expressions are second to none. You know, he can grip you with a snarl. You know, he's a brawler. He's a technician. He can sell. If you want to watch a William Regal match where you're like, holy fuck, he's different class, watch him versus Cesaro in his last match in NXT. That's all I'm going to say. Watch it.
There's a match. If this is going out to Tyler, so if you like a Zack Sabre Jr. or if you like an Ospreay or if you like that kind of thing, these modern day, like wrestling moves. There's a match between William Regal and Fit Finlay in WCW. I think it's a pay-per-view. I think it's fuck me.
Unbelievable.
It's, just bear with me 2 seconds, guys. Please, just bear with me. Oh my God. Keep talking. Keep him busy.
This is WCW Uncensored.
Uncensored.
1996.
That's it. Uncensored, 1996. That match, for a start, fucking Fit Finlay legitimately like fucking breaks. I think it's his eye socket or his cheekbone or something, or his nose or whatever. If you want to look at one of these matches where people beat the shit out of each other and they do strong style and they have a brawl, go and watch that Uncensored match from 1996. It's fucking mental. But just going back to the point, like, Regal's done, that's what I said last week, he has done everything. In front of the camera and behind the camera. He's been a wrestler. He's been like an actual performer, like a wrestler. He's been a sports entertainer. He's been a fucking commissioner. He's been an on-air talent. He's been a manager. He's been like, he's done everything behind the scenes. He's talent. Like he's agented. He's scouted. He's fucking ran. He's done every single thing there is to do in wrestling. It's not just, oh, I can do a fucking triple Indy Vernon Schneider 720. Like it doesn't. That's not what it's all about. And we need to stop thinking that way. For people who listen to this show, and I love people who take time to write and get involved, and like that message is amazing, and it's give us opportunity now to talk about it for 5 minutes or whatever. Like that's what it's all about. It's discussion. It's having a fucking chat over a beer with your fucking mates in the pub, or listening to a podcast, or chatting, whatever. It's cool. I love it. That's what we want to do. That's the whole purpose of this podcast. But Tyler, you're wrong. No, I love it. Honestly, cheers for taking the time to get involved. But I think there's more to it than that, mate. There's more substance there. There's more substance to it. But I completely appreciate it. And as we say, John, what do we always say?
Opinions mean everything.
Exactly.
Nothing at the same time. And justification is everything.
Is everything. All about the justification. So yeah, we love it.
We definitely appreciate you commenting on our TikTok and our Instagram. Do I know something, Hoxie? I think this is a nice little segue of doing our social media plug before we go into our last point before the list. If you haven't done so, make sure you go back and listen to all our previous podcasts. So we talked about William Regal last week. We talk about a whole host of different things on our back catalogue. So check out Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, all our favourite thing. Did I say YouTube? Yes, I did. We have a YouTube channel. It's called Mark Out of 10. Make sure you go over and sub to that. We also have our Instagram, our TikTok. We have a Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Mark Out of 10. We've done fuck all on that Twitch channel, but it is coming. Trust me. So yeah, go and like, sub, share, you name it. Give us 5 stars. Share it with a friend. It helps the
algorithm.
Thank you. I need a button to like
the holy algorithm.
So yes, thank you for everybody that's doing that. Now, the final point I want to make. It's been a while, but we're going to talk about Cody Rhodes. Okay. And this could be the end of the Mark Out of 10 podcast.
Can we just? I'm just going to preface this really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So, listeners, viewers, Shields sort of gave me some of the running sheet, earlier on, and he's told me we're going to talk about Cody, and blah 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 blah. But he hasn't told me anything about what he's just about to tell me. So I'll be hearing what he's about to say for the first time. So it's going to be either like Deadpool shock face, or the screen will go black and there will not be another Mark Out of 10 podcast for the foreseeable future. So yeah, take it away. Okay. Take it away, Shields.
Now, obviously, if you go to our back catalogue, you'll know I've got very strong opinions about Cody Rhodes, right? And I don't think he is. Well, you know, but I'm consistent, okay? And I think I've came to the realization as to what.
Sorry, go on.
I think I've come to the realization why I'm just not sold on Cody Rhodes just now, especially when he came back to WWE. And it was a lot to do with his most recent promo on Raw that he did as a sort of a second comeback to The Rock or whatever. And it's because Cody Rhodes should be a heel, right? He has got every hallmark of being a heel. He looks like a dick, right? He just is an absolute bell end, right? He comes to the ring in these fancy suits, etc. His speech, the way he talks it's very heelish. You know, it's that he thinks he's better than you. You know, it's like it's that sort of articulate style in which he speaks. And this is the bit that could actually like cause this podcast to do. And I was looking on Twitter, and Shitstain himself, Mr. Vince Russo, actually sort of agrees with me. It's like, so I'm going to quote what Vince Russo said. I think it was
please
on his latest.
Do this.
I'm sorry, right?
Please don't.
And I'll quote directly Vince, right? Let me make one thing perfectly clear. As a writer slash producer in the wrestling business for 30 freaking years. Blah,
Fuck off.
blah,
Sorry,
right?
go on.
Cody Rhodes is a heel. He's a bona fide heel. There's nothing babyface about Cody Rhodes. Pardon the term, Dave, so that's who I was presenting these podcasts with. But the wrestling marks, the hardcore wrestling fans, the niche market, they made a decision that Cody Rhodes is going to be the guy. They're going to sing along with Cody. Cody's going to be our guy. I talk for the casual fans. Cody Rhodes is a heel. And quite frankly, if he were a heel, I'd be a fan of his. I can't disagree with him. I think it would be a much easier pill for me to swallow if Cody was a heel. He just doesn't do it as a babyface because it's about genuine, right? It's about genuine feeling in wrestling. And he just doesn't do it for me as a babyface.
The fact that you've quoted
I know.
Vince Russo on here as a credible...
You know, right? You know I don't like Vince Russo, right? We've had many conversations about Shitstain, right? But there's a point there. It's a point that he's not wrong. He's more credible as a heel than he is a babyface.
So, I think we have to think about where we are right now when it comes to the presentation of professional wrestling. And we have to take into account, like, what are the norms now? We've spoke before. We sort of say it in jest sometimes. Like if we take, like, for example, what's happening on AEW as like a bit of as an example. Swerve Strickland threatened a baby in a cot that he was going to kill it, and he went out the next night and got cheered out the fucking place as a face, trying to be a heel. Samoa Joe is meant to be a heel. MJF was obviously meant to be a heel, and it went that far he became a face. It kind of happens usually anyway, but I think what Cody fights for and how he presents himself with what he says, you would say like, oh, he comes out and wears a suit and he's got bleached blonde hair, he should be a heel or whatever. It's just a different presentation. It's the message that he's getting across and what he's fighting for. He's fighting for his name. He's fighting for his family. He's fighting for his people, his fans. You can't do that as a heel. And I know you're saying like, oh, well, it's not like that's like a perception thing. Like if you don't perceive that to be genuine, then that's on you, motherfucker. Like,
right, okay, going back to the fighting for his fans, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fighting for the Rhodes name. The Rhodes name was always about the blue collar, right? If you think about Dusty Rhodes, it's about the working man, right? The way Cody Rhodes presents himself just now does not appeal to the working man.
It's a modern day. Right. I'm trying to think of a way to not justify this. I'm trying to think of a way to explain it.
Justification is everything.
Justification is everything, yeah. So, yeah, but it's not like, oh, this is why it's this way.
Yeah,
so, the way the world is now, people want to be successful. Like they don't yearn to work in a fucking mine or work as a plumber or work as a car mechanic or work as a truck driver. People now want to be like Insta famous, like selling Bitcoin and fucking, you know what I mean, driving a Bugatti about, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a very, very different world that we live in. He's fighting for all the kids that he's going out giving his belt to. He's fighting for the people who are oppressed by the bad men. Like, you mean it's a very, very different. It's a different kind of face. It's a different kind of presentation now. You've got your historic faces that come out. You've got your Cena's, who was big with all the kids and all that sort of stuff, and your Hustle, you know, your Respect and all that. You've got your CM Punk, who come back as just this absolute, forgive the pun, it's not, but it's just this punk rock hero, this absolute everyman's alternative hero. every person's
You saying it's
alternative
a
hero.
cult of personality?
Maybe I could be saying that, John. Exactly. It's a very, very different presentation, and in the world in which we are now, in the wrestling world in which we are now, it's unique. There's nobody else that does that, and there's nobody else that's done that for a long time. It is the complete opposite of the ruling with the iron fist, big dog, head of the table. I'm a piece of shit, and I'm better than everybody, and no one's going to touch me. And I've got this piece of shit lackey who's doing all this stuff, and I've got all these people running around for me. It's a different presentation. It's the complete opposite of that. It's one man who is fighting for his beliefs, and that's the presentation. Just because he wears a suit, he wants to be smart at work. Like it's a different thing.
Blah 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 blah.
Different thing. The fact that you've used Russo, I am disgusted. I'm absolute. I can't speak. I can't speak.
I feel dirty by saying it, but it was something I've been thinking about for a while.
He's been highly involved in the wrestling business for 30 years.
Well, he has. Yeah, he's made an absolute shit show of it for 30 years, but that's by the by.
He booked himself to win the belt.
I don't say this for like the podcast. I've said it all along with you, even long before podcast, right? So I do genuinely want to see what you and a good portion of like the wrestling fans see, and it's not me and my minority. It's not me as a soul. Like, I hate Cody Rhodes. I think there is a few people that are just, I don't get it. I would love to see what you see, and I don't know. It's still something missing.
So
and
the best reaction is all of the reactions. There's nothing worse than coming out and having silence.
Yeah,
we could have had exactly the same conversation in 2005, 2006, 2004 maybe about John Cena. Oh, I don't know what you see him. He comes out in fucking jean shorts and a fucking. He's got like every hometown he goes into, he's got their fucking hometown jersey on, and he does a little rap. Like, yeah, but he's fucking cool as fuck, and he's fighting for his people, and he's like, you know what I mean? It's exactly the same thing. Every single babyface forever. When Roman Reigns was a babyface and they were pushing him to the moon, I hated him. I didn't like that because it was offensive to me. They were forcing him down my throat. I didn't want that to happen. But there was people out there who fucking love this guy. You know what I mean? Every single face. There's Hulk Hogan. He can't fucking wrestle. He's fucking shit. Give it to whoever. Bret Hart. Like, there's always going to be those people who like you or they don't like you. Yeah. And this is the best thing about professional wrestling, because for the whole reason I was talking about Tyler's comment earlier on, it gets people having a discussion. No one's ever going to agree 100% on everything. No. And that's why shit gets over, because you've got half the people going, fuck you, and you've got the half of people going, I love you. And that's fucking wrestling, man. That's wrestling. And that's
It'd be rubbish if we all thought the
brilliant.
Same, right?
Exactly.
It'd be rubbish if we all thought the same.
Exactly.
This is something that just came into my head, actually, and I didn't say this to you before we started. It was an interesting theory in terms of how WrestleMania is going to end, because, I don't think the story is going to finish, but can you imagine the second night Cody Rhodes is getting the shit kicked out of him? So Roman Reigns wins, Bloodline is kicking shit out of like Cody in the middle of the ring. You've got obviously you've got Solo, you've got Jimmy, you've got Roman, you've got The Rock, and then the glass smashes, and Stone Cold comes down. Have you seen Stone Cold working out on Twitter? It's like he is fucking getting jacked, man. Honestly, can you imagine? Yeah,
I'm going to Google it right now. I want to see him working out. Go on.
Yeah, it's just it fits so well to the story in terms of Rock and Austin. We're talking about the largest WrestleMania of all time. What's better, the largest WrestleMania of all time, than potentially the greatest feud at WrestleMania of all time? In terms of the triple threat, the triple matchup between Rock and Hogan. I think I wonder if we can get a run-in from Stone Cold at the end of it.
Oh God, I'd cry.
It would be a mark-out moment, Hawks. It would be a
I'm not even joking. I would cry my fucking eyes out. I'd just be like, a
this
blob.
is wrestling.
Yeah. Oh, because the story they would tell to get you there as well, you'd be fucking ready for something. And if that glass smashes, I mean, it gets me going anyway. I'm all jacked up, Mountain Dew. Don't say stuff like that to me, because when it doesn't happen, I'll be really sad. I'll be really, really sad.
Sorry, I'll just smash a glass when we're watching WrestleMania together. It'll be fine. It happened, Hoxie. It happened.
Oh, dear.
So yeah, that is the sort of news, breaking news and discussion points that we're having on Market of 10 before our list. It's certainly going to be interesting, but I do think Hogan. I think Cody is a much better heel than he is babyface. And speaking of heels, what we are going to talk about now on the Market of 10 list.
Look at this guy. Look at this guy.
is in our opinion our top 10 heels in wrestling history. Okay, so this is really difficult. Like, for me, it was super difficult, and you know what I'm like? I sort of like to go back in the history books and look at like titles and like different feuds, etc. I couldn't do this here because up until about maybe midday today, I had about 35 different people I could have had on a list. It was really hard. So I've just put it down to pure feeling for me in terms of who the fuck do I hate when I see them when they're playing the heel, right? That was my only cut off. I don't know how you found.
That's the best way to do it, right? Exactly. Yeah. Who makes me want to fucking throw something at my telly? Yeah. There you go.
What about you, Hoxie?
So I went a different way. So I could have quite easily filled half of this with a certain presentation of performer, but I went for wrestling heels. So actual wrestlers, not managers, not valets, not whatever. I've gone specifically for people who performed regularly in the ring, basically. Because I had so many. And there was too, like you said, there was just too many. There was no way, unless I sort of self-imposed some rules and regulations on myself, there was no way I was going to get 11 on here. Not a chance. So I've went for like the best, not like bell to bell wrestling here, but the best wrestlers
as heels.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, Hoxie, who's first?
You're first this week.
I'm first. Okay.
Yeah.
So starting off, my number 10 heel is someone we've talked about already. It's William Regal. It's really, you might be surprised at the position of him, but there's other people that they're just something better. I would say probably my 10 to 6 is interchangeable. Maybe 10 to 7 is interchangeable.
Yep. It's a big blob, isn't it? Sometimes
it is. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think for this one, there's not the ranking of it's not that important. I think, because they are all so very, very good. There are reasons for it. And yeah, if you go from when he was Lord Steven Regal in WCW, I can't remember what I watched recently. I think it was just an episode of Nitro, and he was just a prick, man, right? It's like, it was just, what I said about like Cody and the way he articulates himself, that's what William Regal or Steven Regal in WCW, that's what he did. He just talked down to the audience. And sometimes, shit, I've just thought of someone else that could have been on my list there. Fuck me. So it's, make that 36. It's just everything about him, you just wanted to hate him. It's just it's the snarl, it's the over the top sort of facial expression that he's just really pissed off as well when he's getting beaten down by the babyface. And it's the same when he became William Regal when he went to WWE. He was like the aristocrat, right? And it was just, he is the quintessential. What is it he calls himself? I'm an old-fashioned villain.
Villain. Yeah.
OFV. It's true, and he epitomizes everything that is good to be a heel. Something simple like the brass knucks, just something like that. It's like when he was the Intercontinental, or when he was like the lower card champion, it's like using the brass knucks, just something so simple, and he did it so well. And then when he was the commissioner, when he was the heel commissioner, it was just so good. You were glad that like Jericho pissed in his teapot because you were happy that happened. You
Yeah.
were happy that he had to kiss Vince McMahon's ass and join the Kiss My Ass Club. And it's just that's what you want, and that's when you know you've got a really good heel because you're vying, you're praying, you're hoping that they get their comeuppance. And William Regal did so well in that regard. So yeah, that's why he's my number 10. Just the quintessential old-fashioned villain.
Fair play. I can't argue.
You could argue, but you're wrong. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. You could argue. Yeah. Maybe on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, get shot down on the podcast. But there we go.
Mark out of 10.
Yeah. No, it's fair play.
So good.
Yeah.
Okay, moving over to you, Hoxie. Number 10.
My number 10 is Edge, is Adam Copeland himself. I think there was a period in modern day wrestling for about 5 years, maybe 2005 to 2010-ish, where there was nobody, especially in the WWE, probably within the world of wrestling, because there wasn't really much else going on in the world of wrestling. There was nobody out there who was hated more. And I think it was one of those things where he was hated as a wrestler because he was like a piece of shit. But when the internet and message boards and things really started coming into their own, all that shit with Lita came out and that feud with Matt Hardy happened, and he was genuinely despised. Him and Lita, that presentation where they were fucking smashing each other in the middle of the fucking
live Raw section,
like he was genuinely hated, like genuinely hated. The Rated R Superstar thing with it, like his run, I know he didn't make much money with that run and all that sort of stuff when he cashed in, but that run that he had, when he beat Cena, obviously Cena was super face, he cashed in on him, just got massive heat. The match at WrestleMania with fucking Foley, the hardcore match, like once again, just literal heat because the knee stations are on fire. The stuff with what's her name? Fuck's sake, Vicky Guerrero as the manager, like getting involved with her so he could bump his way up into positions and stuff. I genuinely think for a period in time, this is why he's so low down, if you know what I mean. For those, like, for that 5-year period, give or take, the stuff with Undertaker as well, every single feud was a banger that he was in, and every single feud when he was a heel, he was a banger. Obviously, with Edge and Christian, they were at some points they were heels. You know what I mean? Like
they were more successful as heels. Yeah.
But I think Edge gets slept on a lot for this period of time and this run. I think if whoever's listening to this and they think, I don't know, Dan, like whatever, like have a look at some of that shit and have a look at some of the stuff he was doing and how he was doing it. He was genuinely despised, genuinely hated, and that is a heel's job. And I think at a period of time in the only company really that was around at the time doing anything, he was their one of their top heels for a good chunk of time. And in a modern day period, I think Edge gets slept on a lot. And I had to get him on this list because he was a champ at the time. He was a big deal. He was in really big feuds, in really big matches. And that's what you want, right? You want your heel.
Yeah.
You want your top heel to be in top feuds and top matches. He gets slept on a lot. He really does. That 4 or 5 year period, especially, there was nothing. He was hated, despised.
Interesting. Like, I'm probably one of those where, like, when you first said his name, I was like, really? Like, I love Edge. I think Edge, when you go through his body of work, it stands up against anybody's in any sort of era. It's a weird one. You're absolutely right. For that period of time, he was probably one of the most despised men in wrestling. He was the most despised man in wrestling.
Being on top for 5 years as a big heel
Yeah,
is a long
that's a big
time.
deal. Yeah, it's a
It's a
huge
long,
time.
long time. In the WWE as well. 5
Yeah,
years
yeah,
is a long time in wrestling.
yeah.
To be at the top, in the top part of the card as either a champ or on really big featured feuds and matches. 5 years, especially in the WWE, is a big time, a long time. And he would have, who knows what would have happened if he didn't hurt himself? Because it was 2011 when he
Yeah, that's
retired.
right. Yeah, yeah.
How long could he have been on top again? He probably wanted that face run to go out as a face, right? So
Yeah.
if that wasn't a thing that came round, who knows what could have happened? Another 5 years, which we don't know. We don't know, but 5 years is a long time. I mean that match at Mania with Foley, what was it, WrestleMania 23 or whatever it
Yeah.
was, 20.
He got his
Whatever.
WrestleMania moment, didn't he? It's like
That was probably match of the year that year.
Yeah.
Not just on the card, like probably the whole
I
year.
think it was. Didn't Meltzer give him match of the year? Wasn't the Observer do match of the year? I'm sure it was something like that. It's interesting. If Edge is on your list, I can potentially see some people that could be on your list moving forward, and I'll hold the comment I've got here in the eventuality that the people that I think might be on your list. If the people I think that are going to be on your list are on your list,
Yeah.
Edge isn't on mine. Edge wasn't in my wider list, right?
No
so
way. Not
Wasn't
even
on
in like the 30.
No.
What?
But there's a reason for it, right? That there is a
Right.
reason for it. And again, even if you don't have it, when we get to like honourable mention, I'll discuss what I mean by that. Okay, so there is justification into my omission from him. But yeah, to be fair, okay, I'll fair dues. I'm not going to argue the case. Like I say, I'm a big fan of Edge, so that's absolutely cool.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Okay, moving on to your number 9 then, Hoxie.
My number 9 is Andre the Giant. I don't want to talk too much about this because it's a very similar sort of conversation that I've had before about sort of why this is an important thing.
Yep.
He was the heel in the biggest match of all time.
Yep.
Or probably one of the most important matches of all time at that WrestleMania show, that WrestleMania 3. He also had the highest rated wrestling television rating segment show match or whatever, with the sort of match with Hogan on Saturday night's main event as a heel. Bobby the Brain Heenan probably would have been on this list instead of him.
Yep.
But I've gone for wrestling heels.
Wrestler,
So
yeah,
I've
yeah.
probably, like, in a roundabout way, been a bit naughty, maybe. I don't know. I'm a heel, guys. Sue me. We're talking about heels. Fuck this. So maybe my inner Dante has come out. I don't know. But, like, that presentation of Bobby and Andre leading up into that match, and it is over 1 million people in that fucking in the Pontiac Super Silver Premium Dome, when Hulk Hogan lifted him 20 feet above his head and slammed him through the ground into liquid hot magma. There isn't much better than that in wrestling. So he had to get on my list for that period of time. Andre was the boss, man. He literally was the boss. And we wouldn't. I genuinely don't think sliding doors, and I've had this discussion before. There's big important moments where we wouldn't necessarily be here if it wasn't for Andre and Hogan, and Andre wanting to do the job for Hogan, and B, that whole presentation, that period of time for that WrestleMania. It's got to be on my list. He has to be on my list. And if you don't agree, that's absolutely fine. I, like I said, self-imposed rules and regulations as to why. But Bobby the Brain Heenan probably would have been my number 1 anyway, or 1A. But Andre was part of that presentation, not as big as a part as Bobby, but he was the guy who'd done the business in the ring. So he was on there, number 9, Andre the Giant.
I think sometimes when you have a monster heel like Andre, right? you can see how significant he was as that heel when the eventual babyface turn comes. So when he starts choking the life out of him, that's when you know that how big of a heel it is and how monumental that babyface turn was as well when he turned on him. And I think that, it's testament. Andre was on my wider list.
When Bobby slaps him,
Yep.
and you see that change, like I'm getting like goosebumps thinking about it now. We might do a face turn episode at some point or whatever. Like that's there. It's going to be there. It's amazing. Amazing.
You know what I mean? That's how you know you're at the pinnacle of heel, because the crowd is wanting, because they want to cheer for you, right? And that's where what you said earlier is really, really profound, because it's a case of now in wrestling, the bar is so much lower where fans want to cheer the heel. But in those days, in Andre's days, it was a case of they wanted to fucking hate you. But it was testament how good Andre was, the fact that he was this monster heel, because he was a monster, he was the boss, like you say. But the crowd wanted to cheer for him, and it was that turn, and that's just how good he was as the heel. So yeah, no, absolutely, it's a great shout. Like I say, Andre was on my wider list, but he's not on there. Again, it's because I self-imposed it just in terms of how they made me feel, how they make me feel as a heel. So great shout, Hoxie, great shout. Okay, solid so far. Over to me and my number 9. My number 9 is currently an active wrestler, and he is currently the AEW World Champion, Samoa Joe. I think when you look at Samoa Joe's body of work across all the different promotions he's worked in, Ring of Honor, if you look at TNA, when he went to WWE NXT and he was the monster heel there, and in AEW, there are so many different types of heels, like we've talked about, Regal being the sort of talk-down to heel, Edge just being just despised, and you want a heel just to be able to kick fuck out you, just kick your head in, and Samoa Joe is that box that gets ticked. He is a guy that, like, you can do what the fuck you want to me, I'm still going to knock fuck out you. So yeah, for me, Samoa Joe where we talked about Bam Bam Bigelow the other week there, Samoa Joe, if I was younger, he would scare the shit out of me. You know what I mean? It's like, that's what you want as a heel. So for me, I think he's one of the better heels, active heels just now. I think WWE dropped the ball massively. He should have went over Brock Lesnar, because he was a legitimate threat to Brock Lesnar. And the standoff in the ring with him and Brock was something to behold. He's great on the mic. I think there's just something about Samoa Joe. Again, I think he gets slept on as well in terms of heels in wrestling. I think he's the perfect AEW World Champion just now. Obviously, Swerve as well is a fantastic heel, but I think he's probably the right sort of transition champ to hold that belt while they're big stars. That sounds like a disrespect to Joe, but you know what I mean? Like your MGFs and your Omegas, for example, like they're out of the game for a bit. I think he's the perfect transition champ until they get Swerve into the position to take over the mantle, or a Will Ospreay to take over the mantle. I think Samoa Joe's just different class.
I can understand what you're saying, but I can't. I didn't even think about him. Not once did he pop into my head. As a top 10 greatest heels of all time in the history of wrestling, Samoa Joe did not pop into my head at all.
Interesting, like Edge didn't do it for me either. It's really interesting how we're so different in that regard. Like, we are very similar usually in our lists, but I think this is one where we're going to change. Again, criteria is different, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's been thousands of wrestling heels.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
to try and get it down to 10 is hard, but I can't see it with Samoa Joe, mate. I'm sorry.
Oh, really? Fucking hell!
Like he's a heel, but he's not one of the best to ever do it. He's a really good wrestler. He's a great wrestler, especially modern day wrestlers. You look at probably 2000 onwards, he's going to be in the conversation for really, really good professional wrestlers. But like, this guy isn't on my list, but somebody like a Nick Bockwinkel or a fucking, I don't know, even Terry Funk back in the day when he was a heel, or a Jerry the King Lawler or whatever. You're telling me he's a better heel than those guys?
But again, it's the way it made me feel, Now, a Nick
Yeah,
Bockwinkel
yeah.
Nick Bockwinkel is a great shout, for example. I wasn't there to watch Nick Bockwinkel in his prime, so from the way I've done my list, that's the reason why. So that our lists are going to be so different, and
Yeah.
the people at home,
Yeah.
it's the same as everything, right? In all our lists, we don't give ourselves criteria. It's
No.
it's one thing, and I
Yep.
think this is what makes it really interesting. So yeah, for me, just in terms of, if I think back,
Because we haven't had this conversation before.
No.
We haven't, and we say this quite a lot. And believe us when we say this, we do not discuss this at all. At all. We don't mention any names, anything. The farthest we go is, God, this week's hard. Or fuck me, this has been easy. Or like, oh, I don't know what to do, or whatever. We don't say, oh, I'm gonna do wrestling heels this week.
Yeah.
Because I can't. We don't have that conversation.
No.
Dude, yeah, dude,
It's fine.
yeah. I can't see Joe. I can't see Joe. Can't see little pudding face. Can't do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
The disrespect, Hoxie. The disrespect.
I love Joe. I'm only joking. I love Joe. I wouldn't say, please, Joe, don't kill me.
Exactly, yeah. Because he scares the fuck out of you, because he's a heel. Okay, so moving on to my number 8 then. Again, it's another active wrestler just now.
Yeah.
And it is the partner to your number 10, Mr. Christian Cage. Right now, Christian Cage is the best heel in the business. I think he's better than Roman Reigns. Obviously, MJF is out just now. He's inactive, but Christian Cage, his best work that he's done is when he's a heel. When he was in TNA, they dropped the ball with him when he was in WWE, that's by the by. But even when he was the Intercontinental, he was the crybaby Christian heel, that was still good. He went to TNA, Captain Charisma, he was just the quintessential dickhead. And then obviously what he's doing just now with the patriarchy in AEW is probably the best story that they've got going on in AEW at the moment. So yeah, for me, Christian Cage ticks every box for heel. So I think it's going to be very similar. I can see the look in your face from Samoa Joe. But yeah, for me, Christian Cage, he does everything in terms of makes me want to hate him on TV. So yeah, hate Christian Cage, but I love him at the same time. Christian Cage is a better heel than Edge is. 100.
Right, so let me just compose myself. Let me compose my thoughts here. If this week's top 10 list was the best active heels in wrestling, Christian Cage is, for me, he'd probably be number 2 or number 3 on the list. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the best heels in history. I can't put Christian on this list. And you can't tell me that Christian has had sleeping with Matt Hardy's wife heat like Edge did. People wanted to literally beat the fuck out of this guy. Christian's got boo, you fucking twat heat. He's not got fuck you. You've nicked one of the Hardy Boys' fucking misses. I want to stab you heat.
Christian's talking about dead family members heat.
Yes,
that's significantly worse than he shagged my missus.
No,
Fuck
but it's tongue in cheek. It's tongue in cheek stuff. I agree. Christian is probably one of the best things in the whole of wrestling right now. But you cannot believe for 1 second that fucking Jay Rizzo, Christian Cage, believes what he's fucking saying about dead people's families. When Edge is coming out on television in 2007 or whatever it was, 2006, and smashing the back doors in a bird in the middle of the ring in a fucking bed, you can't tell me that he didn't lean into that and he didn't believe what he was saying. Dude, come on. You can't say Christian's a better heel.
Yeah,
better wrestling heel. Well, you obviously are.
Significantly a much better heel than Edge. Significantly. Edge had a 5-year period. Christian has done it in every promotion he's went to.
He's not been the top guy.
Where? In TNA?
He's not been in TNA.
Right, okay. Right. He was in TNA. He wasn't
like
the top guy in
fucking
WWE.
ugliest guy in prison. You know what I mean? It's like... Come on. Come on.
He's never been the top guy in WWE.
No. And when he should have been. He was a face.
Because he was against Randy Orton, who was one of the better heels at that time.
Exactly. But he wouldn't have got there as a heel.
I disagree.
And he didn't get there as a heel because he needed a good heel to get him there as a face.
Yeah, but Vince McMahon also wanted to blur out his fucking face.
To put a blob in front of his face, exactly.
Because he didn't like his face. Exactly. That's ridiculous. This is another one that we disagree on. Christian Cage is significantly a better heel.
I can agree. Right now, in wrestling, he's one of the best things in wrestling. He has some of the best matches you'll see on television any day of the week. His character, his presentation is phenomenal. And he is an actual heel.
Mm-hmm.
Modern day heel. He's not going to get someone trying to jump the rail to stab him. Edge was getting people like following him outside of arenas and trying to get to him and Lita and stuff. That was real shit. Real shit.
Was that as much as they hated Edge or they just really loved Matt Hardy?
Every heel needs a foil. Every face needs a heel. Every heel needs a face. He made that happen. He done it. It came out. They could have went, oh, no, we won't lean into that. He was like, yeah, fuck it. Come on, let's go. He believed every single thing that he was saying and every single thing that he was doing. He was a piece of shit. That period of time was like Shawn Michaels' fucking perk time. We just didn't give a fuck and he was just, you know what I mean, just being a cunt. That's Edge's Shawn Michaels period, basically. There's your fucking TikTok clip right there. Don't fucking at me. Let's move on. My number 8 is Jake the Snake Roberts. Jake the Snake Roberts could... We talk about wrestling heels and we talk about people who are going to get over and going to get involved and going to do what they need to do. Jake was the fucking boss. That feud that he had with... I've been completely put off by this fucking Christian Cage thing. The feud that he had with Macho Man Randy Savage will go down as one of the best feuds in WWF history by a mile. The snake bite in the arm and he's all trapped up in the arm and all that sort of stuff. He made Stone Cold. He made Stone Cold Steve Austin, who is the greatest babyface in the history of wrestling. And Jake Snake Roberts made him put that across. He would come out and do a promo and he would say absolutely nothing but everything at the same time in such a way that you would hang on every single word that he fucking said. He would whisper, he would talk, and you would have to listen. He wouldn't come out and go, everything was concise and you listened to everything that he said and he fucking believed it. And when he got in there and that DDT, you knew as soon as that DDT hit, game over, done. We're going home. Phenomenal performer in ring. Ahead of his time, I would say.
Very much so.
Massively ahead of his time. If he came 5 years later, even into the start of that, you mean if he was one of the younger guys in the start of that Attitude Era, the tables would have been very, very different.
Yeah.
Really good heel, proper heel, piece of shit, slimy, cheated, hated him. The snake, he put the snake personified. Jake the Snake Roberts is one of the greatest heels to ever step foot in a wrestling ring anywhere in the world, in any promotion. And he went to the biggest promotion in the world and was the top heel for a long time. Number 8, Jake the Snake Roberts.
Talk about him later.
There we go.
Okay.
I thought that might be the case. I'm happy you've said that now. We can put Christian to bed and we can move on knowing that I know Jake the Snake's on your list.
Moving on to your number 7 then, Hoxie. Yeah, fucking bell to bell end.
I'm going to get the hiccups. Stop. Oh, no. Oh, no. Let me have a drink. Hiccup time. Jesus. My number 7 is Superstar Billy Graham. I lift barbell plates. I eat T-bone steaks. I'm sweeter than a German chocolate cake. And how much more can you take? Like, he was the OG presentation of how heels were for the rest of time. And he was the first one to do it. When he beat San Martino for that title in like 70, late 70s, 77, 78, whenever it was, he done so. Obviously, San Martino was champion forever, for fucking ever. And he came along and he got himself over as a prick. He stole most of his shtick from Muhammad Ali, from Cassius Clay. Podcast in hand, sorry. I'm trying to bring it back a little bit. He stole a lot of his shtick from Muhammad Ali, but he saw that worked, and that presentation of people either loving or hating it, and he used it, made it his own, got the tie-dye out, he was basically Hulk Hogan before Hulk Hogan was Hulk Hogan, like just got absolutely jacked to the fucking gills, had the earrings in, had the beard and the fucking bleach blonde hair, just like everything. And he got himself over as just an absolute piece of shit prick heel. And like I said, the best, the best form of flattery is whatever it is.
Imitation form of flattery.
There you go. Everyone who's ever wanted to be a heel after that period of time, even if they don't know about it, every single thing that a shithead heel does in wrestling started with him back in the 70s. People don't realize it, but the presentation of coming out on the mic and talking in a certain way and saying certain things and being smart and being a prick and all that. Ric Flair stole it. Hulk Hogan stole it. Fucking everybody. Everyone who's anybody. Triple H, all them lot, they stole it from superstar Billy Graham. I'm a little bit annoyed now I'm talking about it and putting it over so much that he's not higher in my list. And he gets slept on a lot because he's sort of part of that really older generation. But out of that period of time, superstar Billy Graham was the fucking shit, man. He was the shit. If you're not aware of his stuff, just go and listen to some of his fucking promos that he used to do back in the day. They're amazing. And he could go. He didn't need to. He didn't need big lad. He didn't need to do. That's probably where that WWF style started, really, with him.
Yeah.
You had your San Martino who would do fucking hour-long matches with all these technical moves and stuff. And he just went out there and was a prick. He was a bumping heel, but he wasn't taking 100 bumps a night if he didn't have to. Superstar Billy Graham, number 7.
He was on my wider list. I think he was probably one of the last to go. Again, because I was, in terms of how they made me feel, like as a wrestling fan, I can't. I know his impact as a heel, but I can't recall anything that made me go, "Oh, I fucking hate you." You know what I mean? It's like for me as a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
So that's why he's not on my list. But he was on my wider list until I imposed my way of thinking. Okay. Good list so far, Hoxie. Number 7 for me is the perfect one, Mr. Perfect. Kurt Hennig was technically in the ring one of the best to ever do it. But in terms of that gimmick, we talk about believing the gimmick, and he was Mr. Perfect, right? Everything he does was just perfect, and he was the guy that could incite that sort of fucking rage because he was just better than you. I think he was the sort of the MJF of his time, right? In terms of I'm better than you and you know it. It's just, that was it. The towel flick behind his back, just something so simple as that. It was just, you're a fucking knob. And, it doesn't matter where it was. It was WWF, it was WCW. It was just a consistent gimmick all the way through, and he just played it perfectly. And one of the best to never win the big belt. But that gimmick alone, I think, was probably meant he didn't need the big belt. It was just perfect the way it was. Excuse the pun. So yeah, Mr. Perfect is my number 7.
He also was a heel commentator as well.
Yeah.
That mid-90s period as well, which people sleep on. He was really good on commentary. He was dry as fucking sticks, and you had to like really get it when he was saying stuff. He was very clever. Gone way too soon. way
Oh,
too
100%.
fucking soon. Jesus
100%.
Christ, what a guy! Mate, he was very nearly on here, very nearly on here. But he just didn't make the cut. So yeah, I can't disagree with you.
It's like you said, there's so many heels that have appeared on the list throughout history of time. It's impossible to get everybody on there, right? But yeah, Mr. Perfect for me, it was a shoe, and he's probably one of the first that I went, do I know something? He's got to be on my list somewhere. So yeah, he's there.
Yep.
And it's similar to my number 6. It was a shoe-in from the beginning, and we're talking about bad guys. It's the bad guy, Razor Ramon. We've talked about Razor, and we talked about Scott Hall the other week as well, and we're going about how that character made me feel, and that gimmick. I think he was the first heel that you're like, he's pretty cool. You can understand why people like cheer him. Like, it's just he's got the swagger, but he was the bad guy, right? It's like just some of the feuds he was involved in, and obviously Scott Hall went away to WCW, but it's specifically Razor Ramon. It was at a time when it was really cheesy gimmicks. This was on the cusp of being cheesy, Razor Ramon, but it still held its edge of just fucking cool bad guy. So yeah, Razor for me. I'm a massive Scott Hall mark, really. So yeah, Razor Ramon is great. Another one that didn't win the big one, but didn't need to. I think the Intercontinental Championship sort of suited that gimmick really well as well. His ability on the mic, his that sort of Cuban-esque feel, the machismo that he showcased. He was a different sort of heel that we were all used to, but it was the sort of heel we needed at that time. That's very Batman-esque, but you know what I mean? It's like he was the heel. He was the heel that we needed in that period of wrestling.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, brilliant heel, awesome.
Interesting. He was way down on my big list.
Yeah, I thought he would be. Knowing how your lists went, then yeah, I can see that.
But yeah, hey mate, I can't disagree. Can't disagree with you. He was cool as fuck. Like in a bad way, cool as fuck.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Cool bad guy.
Yeah.
Okay, Hoxie, you're number 6.
This might surprise you, but when you take everything into account, like, so I'm not a massive fan of this guy, but I can't deny it, and I might be stealing a little bit of how you have done your list with this guy. It's Randy Orton. I hate Randy Orton massively. It is me here. I am here. Don't worry. This is me. I hate him, so I had to get him on my list because I fucking hate this guy, like, massively. But he is a heel. He's a proper wrestling heel. The stuff he's obviously, the feuds he's had with Cena, the feuds he's had with The Undertaker, the feud he had with Mick Foley back in the day, the whole fucking legend killer bullshit, booting people's heads off, smarmy prick, chosen one, smug, thinks he's better than everybody and everything. Just a dick, a proper prick. And for that reason alone, he made it into the midfield of my list, basically. Even when he came in, like, obviously there was a period of time where I didn't watch wrestling for a bit, but going back and looking at stuff and getting watching it like I was watching it then, like, the way he came in was like heat, like this third generation superstar who was doing, like, jumping up and doing the splits in the ring and just being a prick and, like, taking the piss out of anybody, being disrespectful and all that sort of stuff. But if you were to make a wrestler from the ground up, it would look like Randy Orton and all. Just, yeah, piece of shit, proper heel. And he's always, even when he's a face, he's a heel, really, because he's just
that's exactly what I was going to say.
Prick.
Yeah, it's like when you get a turn, when you go from a heel to a baby face, there's a line that you can see where, like, they cross, and they're definitely like two distinct characters if a character turns. But with Randy Orton, the lines are very blurred. It's like you can't tell the difference. It's really good.
Yeah. It's obviously with the evolution stuff as well.
Yeah.
All that it's attached to that. Obviously, running for the belt, just doing all the stuff. Rated RKO. Who was it? Who was in Rated RKO with him?
Edge.
Yeah. Really good heel stuff again. Legacy
Randy
as well, with your favourite wrestler, Ted DiBiase Jr. Like you
don't need to sell me in Randy Orton, but
like he's been on top, hasn't he? From the day he came in, 2000,
be there or thereabouts,
2003, maybe, whatever. When he came in, just done everything. So and he has always been a heel. So yeah, and he's a prick. Number 6.
He's not on my list. He's on my wider list, but he's not on my top 10 plus honourable mention.
Money made heel.
Oh yeah,
horrible piece of shit. Money made heel at the top of the biggest wrestling promotion in the world ever. He's one of the best wrestling heels, clearly. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Like I said, for my list, how I've done my list, he's had to get on there. And like I said, just the way he makes me feel, I hate him.
Yep. Fucking hate him.
He might be just doing his job the best ever, because like I would consider myself as a smart mark to a certain degree. So, and I don't like this guy. Maybe he's just working me. Maybe he's the greatest worker in the history of the world to me, because he's working me every second of every day.
I told you. I told you he was that damn good.
Yeah.
No, he's not on my wide list. I'm really surprised he's on your list, because I know how vehemently you fucking despise him. Yep. But no, fair dues.
He's a heel, motherfucker. God damn.
Okay. We are halfway through our list, and what we usually do now is we either have another discussion point, we talk about stuff that shouldn't have happened in wrestling, and we're going to do a comparison. We're not talking about the ratings this week. I know we mentioned it last week, but we're not going to do that this week. We're going to think about it a bit longer and see how we're going to actually do that, right, Hoxie?
We're going to deep dive into that. I think there's unless something really big news-wise happens next week, I think we do a big chunk on this, because I think there's so much to dive into when it comes to this. The numbers, Mason. What do they mean? Like, I just think it'd be really good to proper give it some good time, because it is interesting. People who are listening to this might think like, oh no, it's not going to be interesting. When you look at it and get it all explained to you, it's fucking mad, and it is very interesting. And it tells a lot of a story. It
tells a lot about where the company has been, so AEW and WWE have been, where they are just now, and where they're going to go in the future. And the future is where I really want to talk about just now, Hoxie. Yeah. It's a comparison about sort of active rosters at the moment. Okay, now everybody thinks that AEW is the sort of modern, hip place for young wrestlers to go. Okay, and to some extent they're correct. But if you actually look at their current champion list and compare it to WWE, it actually makes for some really interesting reading. Now, there's going to be a bit of a couple of spoilers here for AEW. So recently, in the latest episode of AEW, there is a new TNT champion. There is a new Continental champion as well. So Adam Copeland, Edge, your number 10 greatest heel, beat Christian Cage. And Okada beat Eddie Kingston for the Continental Championship. Mm-hmm. Now, if you actually look at the active champions in AEW at the moment, okay, and you look at their ages, okay, AEW World Champion Samoa Joe is currently 45 years old. Adam Copeland is 50.
50, yep.
Their international champion, Roddy Strong, is 40. You look at the AEW Trios champions, the Acclaimed, Max Caster's 34, Anthony Bowen's 33, but Billy Gunn is 60. AEW Continental Champion, Okada, is 36 years old. Okay, really senior wrestlers are in the key positions within that company. Okay, then you look at
how old is Tony Storm? Just quickly, so we've got a point of reference for the women's champion. I didn't think about the women's champion, to be fair. Tony Storm, let's have a look. Tony Storm is 28. Tony Storm's 28. And we would have had, up until very recently, we would have had Darby Allin at 20s something, but Sting at 73,000 or however old he was.
BC.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, now if you compare that to the current sort of listings in WWE champion Roman Reigns is 38. World champion Seth Rollins is 37. Their Intercontinental champion Gunther is 36. Their US champion Logan Paul is 28. And their tag team champions, obviously they don't have trios at the moment, but it's Damian Priest and Finn Balor, who are 41 and 42 respectively. Now,
what about Rhea?
Rhea is 26.
26.
Is she 26? Let me just double check. 27, sorry, apologies.
So a recent birthday.
And then there's obviously Io Sky as well.
Don't worry about that. We'll just go with the one belt. We'll go with the 1-1. Yeah.
Cool. So the concerning thing I've got is, right, you take these people out, who are going to replace them in AEW, okay? And it's about the future, like I say. And we mentioned this before we started recording, AEW have got access to the indies, but do they have the same influx of younger talent that WWE have with their NXT, like developmental, we'll call it, okay? Should there be a concern for AEW and indeed the AEW fans that, they're it's an aging champion list that they've got there? What are your thoughts, Hoxie?
So I'm just doing some quick maths here, mate. I'm trying to work out the average age. Just bear with me a second. I was trying to do this really quickly, but I've done it fucking because I'm stupid. I've done it fucking wrong. I was using a calculator as well. I'm that fucking stupid. So the average age of champions, what I've done is I've took the youngest in the trio and the oldest. So the average age for champions in AEW is 48 years old. And the average age for champions in the WWE is 41 and a half. So there's, 6.5 years in it or whatever. As you say, it's the land of opportunity and new, modern, and it's not WCW at all. And it's not a place for ex-WWE guys to go and do all that sort of stuff. It's not what it's about. It's about talent and AEW and the Four Pillars and MJF and Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin and all them sort of stuff. You've got Samoa Joe, who is ex-TNA, ex-WWE. You've got Tony Storm, ex-WWE. You've got Roddy Strong, ex-Ring of Honor, ex-TNA, ex-NXT. You've got Edge, WWE legend. You've got Billy Gunn, WWE legend. Max and of the Acclaimed. You've got, obviously, they're indie boys. And you've got Okada, who's a New Japan guy. So there's 2 of 6 champions, like 2 people in 6 champions. Maybe, say 1, because it's a trios if we're going to compare it, who are AEW homegrown talent in that pool. Not a single... At the moment, and for however long, there hasn't been... Because Christian was champion before that. Obviously, the international champion was Orange, who's a homegrown guy. Samoa Joe took the title off MJF.
Yep. Who took it off? Punk?
Daniel Bryan.
Daniel Bryan's not been champ.
Oh, no. Who did he be?
Punk.
Of course it... Jesus Christ. WWE guy. Who took off Adam Page, who was New Japan. Who took off Jericho. Who was WWE. Who was their first champ. No, Moxley, or whoever. Anyway, one of them.
Yeah, Moxley was champ for a long time. WWE.
Yeah, WWE guy.
The thing that, you said there, the difference in age is only, 5.5 years old?
So it's 6.5.
6.5, sorry, right.
Yep.
But the type of bumps that the stars in AEW make, right? You could easily say that adds on fucking, or will reduce the amount of time. You know what I mean? Like in terms of Darby Allin is a prime example, okay?
Yeah.
That
he's not going to be wrestling when he's 40.
Exactly, he's not.
If he is, he'll be like Sabu. He'll be held together by duct tape and glue.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think they need to do something, right, AEW, because it's not a sustainable business model they've got. They're absolutely pissing money in terms of signing Mercedes Moné. They signed, obviously, Ospreay. They signed Okada. Legitimate superstars, if you love it or hate it, they are. They're stars. But what about they're already established stars, you know? Again, Will
Mm-hmm.
Ospreay and Okada are Japan, right? We'll just earmark them for Japan. Mercedes Moné made in WWE, right?
Yep.
Where are the stars going to come from for AEW? You can see it with NXT, the Tiff Strattons, the Sol Rukas, the likes of that being developed within their own in-house developmental. They don't have that in AEW. Is that something they should worry about?
Yes.
End of segment.
long and short answer is if you look at the Indies isn't strong or as strong because they've took all of the people from the Indies, and WWE have done the same thing as well. It's a bit like, if we use like a football reference, right? It's like Chelsea and Man City and all these, like having all of the young talent and just like loaning them out to like random obscure teams, or just keeping them in the reserves, just not doing anything with them. There's no chance for them to grow or do anything or prosper. You've got to be very lucky or massively, massively good to burst out of that. And it's difficult now because you've got the tiers are filled by people who necessarily shouldn't really be there. We're in a very, very, very similar situation than what WCW and WWE were in at that time. Is the guys who went from the biggest company went to a WCW. When your Hogans and your Hall and your Nash and your all them lot went to WCW, your guys like your Jerichos, your guys like your Eddie Guerreros, your guys like your Malenkos, like whoever, like those, they got bumped down, and the guys below them got bumped down even further. They were nowhere to be seen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was only when people started going, fuck this shit, I'm out, and going off television and just not bothering to work, that those guys got opportunities, like your Shane Helmses, for example, or your whoever, like that kind of level coming back in to try out. What I want to do while we're talking about this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the AEW roster on their website. And this is people who haven't wrestled in New Japan, WWE, NXT, or Ring of Honor. And I'm going to go through this page to people, and I want you to tell me who's going to make it, or who's got the potential to make it. Okay? Aaron Solo, Action Andretti, no. Then we've got Adam Cole, Adam Copeland, Adam Page. Obviously, they don't count. Yeah?
Yeah.
Alex Reynolds, Dark Order, nah. Angelico, nah. Angelo Parker, he was NXT, so he's out. Anthony Bowens, potential, but he's not a massive star. Anthony Ogogo, nope. AR Fox, nope. Austin Gunn, potentially.
I don't like the Guns.
I think Austin's a good heel, so it's probably a good thing. Bandido, nothing. Bishop Khan, the big fucking Jack guy with the tattoos, who I thought was a beast, but he's not going to make it. Brandon Cutler,
no.
Brian Cage,
no.
Brody King, we're going even further down. Chuck Taylor.
Fuck off.
Colton Gunn, no. Out of the two, his brother's going to make it. Daniel Garcia, nah. Dante Martin, nah. Darby Allin, potentially. Darius Martin, nah. Dutch, nope. Ethan Page, could be a good wrestler, good working heel, mid-carder at best. Evil Uno, dog shit. Griff Garrison, dog shit. Hook, potential. Isaiah Cassidy, shit the bed. Jack Perry, get in the bin. We're going even further down. John Silver, mid-carder at best. So on and so on. You get the picture, right? Lots and lots of people aren't AEW guys. Fuck me, I'm trying to think. Lee Johnson, Big Shotty, no. Lee Moriarty, no. It's hard
It's
to find
terrible.
people who are AEW talent. Max Caster, good. He's decent, good worker. Yeah. Nick Wayne, got potential. Too soon for him yet. Powerhouse Hobbs, yes, he could be a big deal, but he'll never do it there.
Nah.
I'm looking for Wardlow. Where's Wardlow? Ricky Starks, yes. Sammy Guevara, mid-carder at best. Top-level mid-carder at best. It's just crazy.
It's
There's
just
no one here. There's no one here.
going through the
You know what I
pictures as
mean?
well. They,
Wardlow.
they all look the same.
Yes, there's lots of that, isn't there? There's lots of that.
It's like it's just it's like you've got the Tony Nese, Trent Beretta, Wardlow. It's like they've all got the same sort of look, right? And it's just
Tony Nese and Trent Beretta could be brothers, by the way, looking at these pictures.
yeah,
It's
you know what I
fucking
mean. It's
dreadful.
like there's just nothing that sets them apart, and those that are set apart are dog shit. It's just it's frightening. Instead
There's
of
more. There's more homegrown star power in the women's roster than there is in the men's roster. There.
yeah, there is, yeah, absolutely.
Sorry to cut you off there. I'm just
No,
saying,
no,
like,
no, you're
just that
absolutely
was
fine,
a
no.
thought. I was Anna Jay, Britt Baker. Like, I mean, they're both money. Jamie Hayter, Chris Statlander, Kira Hogan, Julia Hart. Interesting, right?
Scary, right? But it goes back to the investment, right? It's about investment, and AEW aren't short of a bob or two, right? That's that. They just aren't. They've got money behind. They've got the capital there. Instead of ploughing $10 million a year on a Mercedes Moné contract for 5 years, where she can leave after 3, where she's going to inevitably go back to WWE, your own sort of developmental. They've got people behind the scenes in terms of experienced hands. They've got like an Edge, they've got a Christian, they've got a Samoa Joe, they've got people behind the scenes. They've got oh my god, I can't even remember. They've got Jake the Snake there. Holy fuck, right? Jake Snake's on that roster as well as the manager, but they've got the fundamentals.
They've got Jerry Lynn. They've got Dean Malenko.
Thank you.
They've got Christopher Daniels there. They've got the Nightmare Factory. That's already set up.
Yep.
Whether it is still attached to that, I don't know. Whether it's more Dustin's than it is Cody's, I'm not 100% sure.
But Dustin.
But they've got potential there, right? They've got parts there to be able to do it. $30 million could get you a lot. That's like an OVW, isn't it? That's doing promotions. That's getting you ring time. That's getting you promo time. That's doing a show loop around a certain area, putting the ring up, driving the van, honing your craft in front of 100, 200 people, which is probably going to be more than Book of Dynamite. Exactly, yeah. So I think it's a really good point. It's a really good point that you make. I just think Tony's the mark, right? It's Mark booking. It's literally Mark booking. It is his little E-Fed come to life. He's got all of his toys in his toy box. He's got all of his wrestling figure collection. Oh, I want to play with Daniel Bryan and Will Ospreay today. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play with these 2 toys. And that's literally all it is. Dream matches will only get you so far. And that's what we're starting to see.
We talked about it today in terms of spoilers of Okada wins the Continental title. You've got,
of course he does.
You've got Copeland winning the title from Christian Cage. I don't care.
Okada, that's damaged Okada more than him winning the belt, is the fact that he's won that belt. Because it's a belt nobody gives a fuck about. What Tony sort of, I'll give Okada a belt and he'd be really happy and everyone's going to look at him like a champion. Like, no one gives a fuck about that belt. It's Grizzly Death. It's a mid-tier. Shits.
It's a mid-tier title, right?
At best.
At best.
That's the light heavyweight title in WWF at the time.
So basically,
Nothing.
what's got to now happen is that Okada has got to put over someone that is significantly beneath him to drop that belt when he eventually inevitably goes for the big title.
Yes.
How does that make him strong in any way whatsoever? It's nonsense.
Yes.
Absolute nonsense.
Yeah. It's
I
ridiculous.
I don't know if you've seen the clip of it. So he wins the title, and I think this just shows that nobody really tells him what's going to happen, because as he's celebrating, the pyro goes off on like the Titatron bit, and he turns round as if someone is going to run down when the pyro's going off.
Oh my
And then,
days.
well, in fact, I'll wait there. I'm going to send it
See
to
if you can
on
send me this
Discord.
link so I can have a look. Have a look.
Right.
1 minute,
So-
callers. We can have a look, see what's going on. Here we go. It's through.
It's only a 10-second clip.
Oh my god, that's horrendous.
He turned as if he thought there was a run-in, right?
Yes. Yep.
It's just... This is supposed to be your top tier talent.
No one's producing it. So I'm saying it's just, here's your match. Go out and wrestle and have a really, really good match. And I can tell you exactly how this match went as well. I haven't seen any matches from Dynamite. I can tell you exactly how this match goes. They start by punching or chopping each other in the middle of the ring. And then Eddie gets cut off and fires back up and then comes back and then gets splattered again. And then they probably do a little bit on the outside. They go back in and they do more chopping back and forward and punching and forearms and back and forward. And then Eddie will grab him in a fucking exploder. And then he'll jump back up and hit him with a fucking drop kick. And then they'll go back into more back and forth punches and saps and chops. And then he'll go in the corner and go, "Yeah," and then everyone will laugh and celebrate. And then he'll get cut off again. And they'll go into some crazy finish where they drop each other on the head for a little bit. And then he'll get him with a Rainmaker. I guarantee if you listen back to that in slow motion or pause it when those different parts of the matches happen, that is exactly how that match would have gone. Telling you now. Drizzling shits. Grizzly death.
Tell you what I'll do, right? On Monday, so this is released on Sunday, on Monday, we'll do the first stream on the Market of 10 Twitch page and we'll watch that Dynamite episode. So, right? And then we'll see if you're right or not. I don't know if you're about, Hoxie, but I can set it up from my end and then I'll stream it from here and
We'll sort it
do
out.
the first watch. Yeah?
We'll sort it out. Yeah. That's how it goes. Telling you. Chop
Heard it here
fest.
first.
Grizzly death. Bad Pruoresso. Bad Pruoresso. Dog shit.
Hoxie's all hot.
I'm fucking annoyed because it's Okada. He's one of my favourite wrestlers ever. And he's having to go there and deal with this fucking absolute idiot Mark fucking knobhead who's just doesn't know what he's doing in a scenario where everybody is just taking him for a fucking ride and stealing all of his money off him. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible right now. I said this to you earlier on, didn't I? The way I feel about AEW right now, I didn't say that exactly this to you earlier on. The way I feel about AEW right now is how I felt about WWE for about 5 years. Yeah. I just did not want to watch it because it made me fucking like gag. Just like, no, ick. Just the ultimate ick. It's making me feel that way now. There's nothing there's no FTR. There's no MJF. When he was good, they fucked everything up with Punk. Like, Swerve isn't getting where he needs to go to, where he should be. Darby Allin's fucking trying to kill himself. Like, there's nothing worth watching. I'd rather have Moxley back. Genuinely. I'd rather have Moxley back on TV every week. At least he does something with a bit of substance. You know what I mean? I'd rather have Moxley back.
I mean, it is just all over the place, right? Okada's went to this sort of mid-tier level title. You know, Mercedes Moné's coming in and saying nothing. It's just the run-of-the-mill paint-by-numbers
Oh my
promo,
God.
right?
I feel like I'm home. Guys, you've made me feel so special for so long. Thank you.
Yeah,
that wasn't me. That wasn't Monet, by the way. That was me. That was me. Sorry, for those who are listening, we didn't just cut to a fucking promo section from Mercedes Moné. Jesus Christ.
It's just really bipolar booking though, because they're doing this AEW World Tag Team Championship, right? Because
it's not cocaine. It's oh shit! I fucked my joke up. Scrap that. Edit it out. It's not bipolar booking. It's cocaine booking. That's what it is. That's what it is.
But right, okay. So for example, this tag team championship tournament, right?
Yeah.
FTR are in it, and we love FTR, right? But Moxley and Castagnoli aren't in it, and we don't like Moxley, right? But if they're going on about like it's all about wins and losses, right?
Mm-hmm.
How can you not have Mox and Castagnoli in there after they went over FTR in the most recent episode? It's like it just doesn't make sense, you know.
Make it make sense.
You know, it's like Swerve Strickland, one of the best heels in modern wrestling he will be in the future. He's a babyface. Like it's like, you know, after breaking into someone's house and going to murder a child. It's like, what? It's like, what are you doing? You know, and the best thing on their program just now is Will Ospreay. And you know, and we talked about Will Ospreay in terms of, you know, bell to bell, he's great, but
we watched that. We watched that episode, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
On Friday night.
We did, yeah.
That was one of the best promos I've heard on AEW television for ages. He struggled a little bit at the start, like, but it was fucking believable.
Yep.
It was genuinely, but like when he realised it was sort of dying a little bit of a death with probably the material that they gave him to go and say, he went, "Do you know what? Fuck this. Come on, bruv, let's have it." And it was really good. Yeah. Let's have this. Yeah, you know, let's go. And he will be able to back it up with a match. Some of the match might not necessarily make sense, but it will be a very, very good match. Very, very good match. So it's interesting, but they've got all of the pieces there. They've got all of the talent there that isn't in the WWE. They really have. Like there's not many wrestlers like in the world that aren't there that you really want them to be there, if you know what I mean. There's a few, but there's not loads. And they just I said this to you, didn't I? I don't know whether it was on the show last week or when we were watching it. I don't understand how people who do this for a living, who do this for a job, get this so wrong. Like if I was like my company who I work for, like IRL, if they were that bad, we'd be going out of business. Like I wouldn't, if I was as bad as my job, than Tony is at booking a wrestling show, I would have got the sack a long time ago. And I would probably never have got another job in the industry. It's crazy. There'll be one person who listens to this show will be like, "You are that bad, you cunt." Woo! But like, you know what I mean? But it's like, it it boggles my mind, mate. It really does. And
it's interesting. Sorry to cut
you off.
Go on.
No. I was just, what I was going to say is, it's sad because I really, really wanted it to work. Really did.
It goes through peaks and troughs, right? And I was going through Twitter as well, and I know they talk about, you know, when Mercedes Moné and Okada and Ospreay were signing for AEW over WWE, it's because WWE were only touting, you know, like it's a WrestleMania. You know, WrestleMania doesn't have the same pull that it's ever had. It's like, really? It's like what these guys are doing is they're just benefiting themselves. You know, it's a case of Mercedes Moné's already headlined a WrestleMania. You know, if she can go, she would have been offered a decent sum of money from WWE, not $10 million a year.
Probably a tenth of that.
Exactly. If that, you know, where are you going to go to work less dates and get 10 mil a year? You know, it's the same with Ospreay. WWE are a global entity, right? Mm-hmm. They're not going to allow him to sort of dictate when he works in the US. It's the same with Okada, right? Okada, I still think he's staying in Japan with his new child, etc. And it's like, it's nothing to do with WWE only offering a WrestleMania moment, right? I still maintain Okada will go to WWE at some point.
I hope
so will Ospreay, right? I think it will happen, right?
Yeah.
But
Ospreay's still young.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's WWE know the worth, because it's not about how much money you outlay, it's about how much money you get brought back in. And unfortunately, an Okada and an Osprey are only going to appeal to that niche audience at the moment.
800,000 people.
That's it. They're not going to
And
get a return on their investment.
80 to 100,000 people who buy the pay-per-views every so often.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The only one that potentially they could have offered a wee bit more, because there would have been a natural hike, would have been a Mercedes Moné, a Sasha Banks going back. The Boss merchandise would have recouped some of that loss in terms of the sign-on package, but they don't have that with Okada and Osprey, unfortunately. In terms of in-ring talent, among the best in the world, but they don't have the resale value, in my opinion.
It would take Mercedes Moné 20 years to make $30 million back. And they're wanting her to do it in 3. Not a chance. Not a chance. Even as a glorified T-shirt company, which what AEW kind of are at the minute, or have been for the last few years. Let's not hide behind that fact as well. They're not necessarily a fucking a wrestling company. They're a T-shirt company, basically. There's no way they're getting $10 million a year on Mercedes Moné T-shirts.
No danger.
They probably haven't made $10 million a year on T-shirts, full stop. Really? You know what I mean? It's... Shad Khan, Tony Khan's dad, has come out and said to him, like, I have gave him his money that I would give him when he dies. He's going to get his what's the word I'm looking for, Shields? Help me out.
His inheritance.
Inheritance. He said, I want at least I can see him enjoy his inheritance while I'm still here. That's what Shad Khan's come out and said. So it's just Tony running around with his pocket money, going mental. He hasn't got to recoup any of it, really. He'll have the real main board member is him, and it's all his fucking money. As long as he's paying his bills, it doesn't matter who's paying it. They're all getting paid. Mad cunt. Cocaine is a hell of a drug, guys. Hell of a drug. Mental.
Fucking mental. Okay, that's that segment done. We wanted just to talk about the comparison. We will do more comparisons.
AW hatred segments.
That's the thing. I don't want to hate on it, but
no.
It's just fucking depressing, right?
Yes,
it's like
it is.
They were a beacon of like hope in wrestling, and to be fair, they challenged WWE, and you're like, oh yeah, we're going to take on WWE. Sorry, you were taking on WWE NXT. You were taking on their developmental, and you weren't smashing them out the park.
No,
that's the scary thing. It's very sad. I think they need to sort of know their role a little bit and just like just put a better product out there. Now, some of the matches are great. We watched Big Business together, like you said, and it was horseshit. Yeah, terrible. Yeah, it was one of the worst things I've seen.
Yes, one of the worst wrestling programs I've ever seen in my life. And like we've spoken about this before. I've been watching wrestling since like 1993, 1994, give or take, properly. And I've watched a lot of wrestling from before that as well. That's one of the worst wrestling shows, back to front, from front to back, I've ever seen. Awful.
Absolutely. Terrible.
Awful. Yeah. And it's not like, bashing AEW. I wanted it to be amazing. I want to see Monet come out and make a big fucking deal. I want to see Okada, and I want to see all these guys. Like, the first match Okada had on the Dynamite was a 6-man against Jobbers, and it was just it was Grizzly Death.
Horrible.
The drizzling shits.
And then we had the main event, though.
Best main event in wrestling. We talk about our Stone Cold and Rocks. We talk about our Andres and Hogans. It's got nothing on Riho and fucking Willow Nightingale.
Horrendous.
I've had bigger shits than Riho.
I've said it before. I love you, man. Okay, let's move on before we have a.
We need to Oklahoma there because I need to drink because I'm hot as shit. I'm fuming. I'm all jacked up. I'm fuming.
Okay, we're having Oklahoma.
BRB. Oh. Hello.
Hello.
I am back.
Did you dip your head in water? Fucking...
Yeah. Just done a big line of Tony's Finest and pour myself a drink. I'm ready to go. Cheers, guys. Whoa!
Okay,
I didn't really. I didn't. I'm a good boy. I don't do any of that shit anymore. No, I promise. I've never done it. Promise. Cut this. Cut it. Cut this out.
Mark out of 10 are clean. Okay. Okay, Hoxie, we've done that segment. Let's go back to our list. We are on to number 5 of our
Dude, who
favorite...
was your number 6? I forgot. Who was your number 6?
Razor Ramon.
Yes. Fuck me.
Okay, it's over to you for your number 5 because your 6 was Randy Orton. Over to number 5.
My number 5. Just when you think you've got all the answers, I change the questions.
So good.
Roddy Piper.
Yep.
He could have quite easily made it higher. The amount of love that I have for this guy, if it was wrestlers who I probably love the most, he might have had a good shot at being number 1, depending on what mood I was in. When you think about the history of wrestling and the people who have made a living from talking people into the building, putting an ass every 18 inches, whichever way you want to talk about it, Roddy Piper is one of the greatest to ever do it. And he done most of it by far by being a heel. Batman needs a Joker. You know what I mean? Fucking whatever. You need your yin and your yang. Like, everybody needs a heel. And when you wanted somebody who didn't give a fuck about what he said, he always crossed the line. Sometimes he might have maybe gone too far, but that's looking at it from a lens that we're wearing in 2024, not back then. Very different time, very different world. Madison Square Garden, the territories, the first ever WrestleMania, when Vince McMahon put it all on the line, literally put every single thing he had on the line, every penny, remortgaged houses, put businesses, like every single thing that he could possibly do. Who did he go to be the foil, to be the guy who made that show? He went to Roddy Piper.
Hot Rod.
And really, that's pretty much all you need to say about that. But fuck me, what a promo, what a heel.
Yeah.
And when he did get in there, he fucking went. He did go. Like, everyone takes the piss out of Piper, saying like, oh, he was this or he was that, or he like the fucking sleeper was over as fuck for a start. He won titles and all that sort of shit. He beat everybody with that.
Yep.
But when he was on it, he was a bumping heel. He was a brawler. He was technically good, like technically sound. Like he was unbelievable on the mic. He looked good. His promos were just amazing. Like the why for inflection, and he would come back down on me. Why? Like, it was just amazing. Very similar to what we talk about, like Jake from earlier on.
Yeah.
Like the way he would make you fucking listen to him, and when he got serious and he really, really got down to it, you couldn't take your eyes off him. Just, oh, dude, Roddy Piper, man, fuck me. As soon as them bagpipes hit, man, there we go. I knew that would be the case, but he's not higher on my list because of the criteria. But he could have quite easily been number 1, quite easily.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Got a love for him. Okay.
He got proper heat as well. Proper heat. Real heat. Not wrestling heat. Controversial, mental, mad shit.
It's like, dude.
Heat. Yes. Real heat. Big time.
Yeah. Yeah, like I say, we'll discuss him just for a little bit longer later on. My number 5, though, moving on, is someone we have talked about a lot in the past as being one of the most probably underappreciated heels, Triple H. For a period, he he was the best heel in wrestling. Like you said, it would be Roddy Piper. Every sort of babyface needs a heel, and it's exactly the same thing with Triple H at that period of time. You know, whether it was a Rock, whether it was an Austin, whether it was a Mick Foley, you know, the who's who, whether it was an Undertaker, the who's who in terms of wrestling. Triple H was that safe heel that you went to, and he got heat, man, like fucking proper heat. He it was like there were a period of time where like every single Raw it was going to be opening, and it was a 20-minute Triple H heel promo. It's like there's that obviously that famous sort of like meme of that happening, right? Where it's 25 minutes of him just, my name's the game, you know. And but he was so good at it. He was the game. He was just that damn good, you know. He's a cerebral assassin. Again, if you were to design a heel wrestler, Triple H would probably be it. You know, he has the look, he has the ability to speak, he has the moveset, he cheats to win. It's just fucking everything about him. He's so underappreciated, you know, in terms of, because obviously of who he married and the position he got into because of that. But he didn't need Steph. You know, he would have been over his shit anyway as a heel. It's even when you take away the Triple H, and if you go back to Hunter Hearst Helmsley, it shows you the sort of range of heelness that he could have, going from that aristocrat pain in the tits, you know, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, to the sort of gang leader Triple H for either DX, for Evolution. You know, it's just he's everything you want a heel to be, and I think in the modern era, he is the heel when I think about heel. Again, he was always on my he was a dead cert on my list.
So my number 4 is Triple H. So we can mold these in together.
Yeah.
So I'll talk about this as my number 4 as well. We can talk about it together. It makes sense, right? Doesn't it?
Yeah.
That reign of terror.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to classes it as, sort of fans proclaim it as the reign of terror from 2002, 2003 through for a few years or whatever. I think that's his best shit that he ever
100%. 100%.
did. And everyone, I said, like you were saying about because he married Steph, and that's the whole reason. Like he was doing top guy shit before,
exactly,
and he'd done top guy shit for a lot of time after as well. I don't think that it might have helped a little bit with certain things, but I don't think it helped with how good he was as a fucking wrestler. Dude, that I said that I love all of Triple H's stuff.
Yeah.
We spoke about this before. Triple H was never a 5-star guy, but everything he did was 4-star. He was never 1-star. He was never 2. He was never 6 or 7, whatever. He was always 4 stars. He was Mr. Dependable with everything, and he got real heat. One of my favorite things from wrestling, and I always go back to it when I think about Triple H, is that Ric Flair Raw match. But that whole story arc through that one Raw episode, like, oh yeah, you're gonna take, yeah, you just lie down for me. It's like, what? No, what? And it made 2 heels. It made Ric Flair instantly a babyface.
Yeah. And
I don't think there's ever been such an amazing story told in wrestling in one show ever than that. And I don't think there's many other people who would have been able to pull that level of story off than Triple H, because of how much he was a heel, because of how much people wanted, and obviously Flair being like that turn into that baby face. I guess everyone, you always need one. You need strong one and strong other. Sometimes one can elevate the other, but you always, for it to be magic, you have a great heel and a great face. But Triple H was a great heel, and oh my god, if I was Vince, I would have called an audible and had Flair go over, because they were so ready for that. That would have been such an amazing thing. Anyway, however, but also ran the similar period, that the stuff with Eugene as well, when he was just being a prick and being a bully and being horrible, but just all the stuff, the DX stuff, the evolution stuff, the reign of terror. you look back as well, dude. The Daniel Bryan shit when he won the title and with a triple threat at Mania. The Shawn Michaels, Benoit and him, triple threat. Yeah. The one with Shawn Michaels, Triple H and Cena. Like, just
the one that I always go back to is, but there's two main ones. But it's when DX reforms, and no one is expecting it, and then he turns on Shawn Michaels in the ring when they're doing the crotch chop to get the pyro going off.
Yeah,
it's like he hits him with like a sledgehammer, puts him in a wheelchair and stuff like that. It's just simple stuff as taking a stable that everybody loves with DX, right? And then it's the unexpected twist of him just turning on Shawn. He's a lifelong friend, etc. Just so good. The 2-man power trip with him and Stone Cold Steve Austin, back in 2001 when they won the tag team belts.
Oh, God, I forgot about that.
It's like he was Intercontinental champ, Stone Cold was WWE champ, they won the tag belts. It's like, it's just so many different things when you go back and look through his career. Wow. The Mick Foley, the Mick Foley going from Mankind, when he got an absolute pasting from Triple H, to the Cactus Jack revival. That's all down to his work as a heel.
That 1997 year, that feud, it seemed like every pay-per-view they were having a match, or like every In Your House or whatever they were having a match, but it was fucking great. Really good shit.
So good.
Dude.
But when you talk about heels.
Yeah. The more we've spoke about Triple H when we've been doing these shows, the more I've realised, like, A, how good he is, but like, I probably like him a lot more than I realised. I think the same thing with I've talked about Punk in the past. Like, I've always been a Punk fan, but the more and more I've spoke about Punk, the more and more I've realised he's probably one of my favourite wrestlers ever. Like, it's weird how we talk about this and we proper put thought and sort of effort and discussion into it. Little things like this come about. Triple H is just phenomenal. Yeah. Really, really good. Really
so good. Top shit. Underappreciated in his time.
Massively.
So that's your 4 as well. So I'll go into my 4 before you go into your 3. So my number 4 could be my number 2. So my 4, 3, and 2 are so interchangeable, just right?
Yeah.
And
joint 2 if it was golf.
Basically, it's joint 2. Yeah, tied for second is Ric Flair for me. A lot of people would think he's probably the number 1 heel, but there's a reason why he's not my number 1 heel, because of who my number 1 heel is. Mm-hmm. But Ric Flair is always in that conversation, right, in terms of heel. Like, so his best work when he was in NWA was heel. WCW was heel until the NWA came in. When he came to WWE, again, like you say, it was that moment with like Evolution and stuff. He was like, he was a heel, but he was a different sort of heel to what he was used to. He was playing second fiddle to Triple H, but he played that heel so well as well. It's just everything about Ric Flair. It's that sort of the swagger. He is Space Mountain. He's the nature boy, right? Woohoo! Styling and profiling, just kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, son of a gun.
Can I do the same thing as what we did last time? Because my number 3 is Ric Flair.
Right, okay.
So it's close enough for us to just do the same thing. Yeah. I can't disagree, dude. He was the first name on my list.
Yeah.
Like, it's not to be like number 1, but he was like, Ric Flair, easy. For him to take that persona, because it was basically just like an extended version of obviously Buddy Rogers, pretty much. But to him to take it and put his own spin on it, and it really was a sign of the times. That sort of like 70s he made the Ric Flair character in the 80s, which was the decade of like excess and debauchery and Wall Street and big phones and flash suits and Rolexes and stuff. It was. Do you talk about like Dusty was the fucking working man or whatever? It was the complete opposite to that. Yeah. And it was just perfect. All the women loved him. all the blokes hated that the women loved him. So the guys who maybe thought he was kind of cool were like, "Oh, fuck this guy! He's shagged everyone. He's shagging everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone's screaming his name, and he's throwing Rolexes into the sea or chucking his crocodile snakeskin shoes or what? I mean, leather shoes into the $500 shoes into the crowd and just not giving a fuck. Like just debauchery of the highest regard, but then he would do 60 minutes. I think I can't remember the exact. I saw this as like a stat ages ago, and I can't remember the exact stat now. For like an 8-year period when he was NWA champ and like running around, like his average match time was like 47 minutes or something stupid like that every night. Like, oh, but he'd wrestle for an hour, 45 minutes at the main event, then go and party all night, shag a couple of birds, get up the next day, do fucking an hour on a Stairmaster, then do it all again, just forever. It's a good job he had ADHD because there's no way he would have been able to carry on that level of anything for that period of time. But dude, what a guy!
He is the definition of living the gimmick.
Yeah, Ric Flair isn't Ric Flair, Richard Flair. Like Richard Flair should have always been Ric Flair. Like that's just the way it is. Just amazing. Everywhere he went, every single promotion he wrestled in, he was all the way through his life. He was the heel. He was just an amazing heel. The Evolution stuff as well when he came back and sort of reinvigorated himself with that. And 50 years or whatever, 40, 50 years in the business, and he was top heel in most of those decades at some point.
You know what was really good? I was watching a WCW episode, again, working. I was watching it as I was doing it, and it was the episode where he becomes essentially the owner of WCW. It was at that time where he was over as fuck because obviously Eric Bischoff was out the game, like that was fine. But there was a segment backstage where Deborah went into his like dressing room and Arn Anderson was there, and then it went from him being a baby-faced owner to like them being a heel and as the Four Horsemen kicking fuck out of someone backstage, and it was like a heel moment. It was just like, that's incredible, you know? It's like
just like that.
And it was just like that, exactly, because it was like from the ring. It was obviously a commercial break. It went to the bit where I think it was Mean Gene was like talking to Deborah backstage, and then like I say, she goes in, she screams, comes back out, and then they're just kicking fuck out this random tag team in the backstage. Like Ric Flair puts the figure 4 on him, like trying to break his knee and stuff, and it's just like that's Flair, man. It's just that's what it's all about. And as I say, when he went to WWE, he was a shell of the man, right? He wasn't Ric Flair, but Triple H managed to like do that, and that's how good Triple H was as well. He sort of got Ric Flair back to being the heel the Ric Flair, the Nature Boy, yeah. Yep. But as I say, it was a different sort of heel. You know, he was playing second fiddle to Triple H's heel, but not to a point where it was sort of tarnishing his legacy. It was just a different face to the Nature Boy Ric Flair, which I thought was incredible. Yep. It was a case of, I've been there, I've done that.
The thing with Evolution is they were all together, but they were all stars.
Yeah, exactly.
And they were all treated that way. And I think Triple H was clever enough to realise, like, if I make all these guys, obviously not with Flair, but if I make Batista and Randy, there's 2 people I can make a lot of money with.
Yep.
And obviously the company were behind those guys, but they did that. Like this is the thing where the just as a quick aside from this, you need to understand the business aspect of some of this as well. Like we have Jericho as an example now. He's saying he's elevating guys. He's not. He's pulling them away from that. We've had the conversation about Ricky Starks before. He's done it with other guys in AEW. He's just about to do it with Hook. He's vampiring, sucking the life out of these people. What was said the Harry Potter guy? What's they called? The Dementors. Dementor. He's the Dementor of talent. With Triple H, he's clever enough to know, like, if I make these 2 guys, I'm going to have 2 faces or 2 heels that in the next 5, 10, 15 years are going to A, make the company a lot of money, and B, I can do some business with these guys. And that's where he's clever.
And he did.
And Flair would do that with Sting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Very, very simple. doesn't take a genius to work this stuff out. Clever shit. My favorite thing probably of Flair. I'm a big Flair mark, huge Flair mark when it comes to wrestling in the wrestling ring. But I think when he won the Royal Rumble and that promo when Heenan's there and I stand here with a tear in my eye, like just holding that belt.
92?
1991.
Was it one?
Yeah. Or was it the 1992 Rumble?
92. It was 92 Rumble because he won the title from it, right? It was the first and only
92
time.
Rumble. Yeah, it was 91. It was the Undertaker and Hogan was 91. Yeah. So it would have been going in. I always get mixed up because it's like early on in the year, isn't it? It's always February, whatever. But yeah. Going in and lasting an hour or whatever and winning the fucking thing and just like being a prick about it. Kurt Hennig in the background and Bobby Heenan, like all the heels standing there celebrating with him, and he's just like, that's like not ultimate Flair because he's not in a suit talking about it or whatever, but that's like peak made it big guy heel Ric Flair. It's just brilliant. There's so many promos that I love with Flair. Obviously, the stuff he used to do on NWA TV, or like Jim Crockett in the studio and stuff, just come out, just be a prick. Like, it was amazing. But yeah, Flair's one of the greatest to ever do it.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
He had to be on the list, right? He had to be on the list somewhere.
Of course he did. Coming out in them robes, being a badass. Brilliant. Whoa!
Okay, so that was your number 3. It was the same. So my number 3 is someone you've already mentioned. It's Roddy Piper. Fucking Hot Rod is just, we get emotional when we talk about him, right? It's like,
most of the time.
Yeah, we do. It's and I think
this is weird, right?
Yeah,
because there's no one else who we talk about that we do that with. Both of us do this.
Yeah, and it's
strange, isn't it?
It is very strange because see if we weren't talking about him, it probably wouldn't come into our head. You know, it's like that's really bizarre. Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, I was close to not putting him on the list, and this is similar to like your Edge thing. I think with Roddy Piper, I don't see him as a heel or a babyface. I just see him as Roddy Piper. You know, I think you know what I mean. It's like
I can fully get behind that,
and I think it's similar with Edge as well. So I mean, it's like I love Edge, and you know that. It's like I think Edge is super talented. He's got a career that'll stand with himself, but I don't see him as a heel or a babyface. I just see him as Edge, and you know, and Roddy Piper is in that same vein. It's the same with like sort of a Stone Cold Steve Austin. You know, I don't see him as a heel or a babyface. I just see him as Stone Cold. You know, it's one of those ones. But Roddy Piper, when he had his heel on, like just no one could touch him. Right? It's like. We talked about Triple H being a safe pair of hands in terms of heel. Roddy Piper was that for his generation. You know, you don't get pushed into the first WrestleMania if you're not a safe pair of hands. He was over his shit. He was like one of the first stars to transition to Hollywood, and it's just because his charisma and personality. And you know, we've talked about certain heels that tick a certain box, whether it's the talk down to you dickhead, or it's the kick fuck out you know, or it's the I'm better than you type thing. Roddy Piper did it all.
Yes.
You know, he could talk down to you. He could make you feel like you were that small. He could kick fuck out you. It's just he was just brilliant, man. He was Hot Rod, and I'm emotional again. It's ridiculous. Just fucking love him. Just so good. So fucking good. One of the best things to ever happen in wrestling. So yeah, he had to be on my list.
It's always that promo, right? I think that's what does it. I don't want to speak for you or put words into your mouth or whatever, but I think it's always that promo, the old school's cool thing.
Oh, that's what
I'm saying. Every time I think about him, that's like one of the things that I think about, and that's what makes me emotional when I think about him because he's just amazing, right? It's like one of the best things ever. So I don't know, dude. It's weird. I think it's weird. We don't get like this about anybody else.
No, we
really.
don't.
No, it's strange.
I'm trying to find the actual promo. I can find the promo. I just want to see the words of it if we've just got that so we can read it out. Nah, I can't find it, but it's just old school is cool, and yeah, just so good. Let's move on before I start crying. So, I think it's my number 2, right?
It is your number 2, yeah.
And it's a guy that you've already spoke about already. And remember, my list was done on how they made me feel with Jake Roberts, Jake the Snake. For the amount of love I have for Roddy Piper, I would say it's probably in similar vein to Jake the Snake Roberts. One of the best minds in the business in terms of wrestling, psychology down to fine art. And like you say, it's when he talks, it was slow, it was deliberate, and it made you sort of just edge forward a little bit. But he was the snake. You just didn't want to get too close or you're going to get bitten, man. And I agree with you that the sort of Savage feud was one of the best ever. There's always that moment, right, in terms of Savage being handcuffed to the rope and then the snake biting his arm. It's, obviously the Cobra was defined, clearly. But, it's just moments like that. And again, I've mentioned it before. Again, one of the great promos that he did was when he debuted in AEW with Cody Rhodes. And, it's like, what is it? You never turn your back on someone that you fear or something like that. And he just throws the mic and just turns away from Cody. I was like, you're so fucking good, man. So
brilliant,
good.
Isn't it?
It's so good. It's like, and it's just so slick. It's just everything about him. It's the DDT, the look, the tights, the snakeskin tights, the boots, the bringing the fucking snake to the ring, Damien. It's just
the whole presentation, the charisma, all the planets and the moons aligned for that
lightning in a bottle
gimmick. Yeah.
Lightning in a bottle. And again, it's one of those characters that didn't need the big belt. He didn't need it because it was like a Mr. Perfect.
He was already over.
He was over his shit.
Sometimes the belt makes the man, and sometimes the man makes the belt. And the man would have definitely made the belt if he ever held that one. 100%. Yeah, I agree.
Again, you just wonder if he didn't have the demons he had, and still has to this day.
What could have been?
How good could he have been?
What could have been?
Because I struggle to think of many people that were better psychology-wise in wrestling than Jake the Snake. I think you wouldn't find many.
No,
from a psychology
he's on
aspect.
the top 10 of that, definitely.
Has to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, so number 2 for me. Again, potentially too high, but it's my list, and he scared the shit out of me when I was younger. And as I got older, you just got to like love what he did for the business, and just he was a heel. That's it.
Yeah.
Number 2, Jake Roberts.
Yep. Basically, he was on my list.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously a bit further down, but yeah, can't deny it.
Okay, your number 2, Hoxie boy.
My number 2, and this might surprise you. It might surprise some listeners. It doesn't surprise me, obviously, because it's my number 2. It's Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
Obviously, it's Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for clarification.
I think when the greatest heel turn in wrestling is the leg drop. Okay, you can't. There's no argument to be made about that whatsoever. So, in my eyes, that has to put him as one of the greatest heels to ever live. Because when your heel turn was the most impactful heel turn in the world ever, it makes you one of the greatest heels ever. When he turned from the red and yellow to the black and white, he was everything completely opposite of what Hulk Hogan was. Like just corrupt and self-serving. Just, you know what I mean? He was he didn't give a fuck about anybody else. All he wanted to do was be the champ and destruct the world, WCW, and he wanted to take over everything. You said just about lightning in a bottle. That presentation of Hogan, there's nobody else. We spoke about this obviously with WCW best moments and the NWO and all that sort of stuff. There was no better person or no better moment in time to have done that and to have just had that character in place than then. It was it was 96 he turned, wasn't it? 2002. So for 6 years, not a massive period of time. We spoke about Edge being 5 years. There's other people that might not necessarily been for that. But you cannot say that a 6 year period in wrestling could have been as impactful as what that Hollywood Hulk Hogan character was as a heel. You look at wrestling history, that 6 years was pretty important, right? There was a lot of shit going on there, and he was the top guy. He was the top heel for lots of reasons, lots and lots and lots of reasons. All the shit he did as a heel, all the people he screwed over, the fucking spraying of the belt. We talk about the segments from last week, the lawn dart segments and the running roughshod through WCW, the putting Goldberg over, the getting the belt back, the finger poke of doom, going into WWF, like getting that match with Rock, one of the greatest matches of all time as a heel. Hollywood Hulk Hogan, just badass, absolute badass, proper heel. That turn, perfection, biggest heel turn ever. No, there's
no question.
There is Hogan turning heel, the biggest gap you'll ever see to the next one, and then they're all really close together. The only person who would ever have come close on a heel turn in that is if Cena ever turned heel, and it never happened.
Yeah,
you're
absolutely right.
It would be the only conversation we would have together would be those two. There's no one else in the same conversation as the greatest heel turn ever than Hogan dropping the leg on Macho Man at Bash at the Beach. So for that reason, pretty not only but the massive part of my justification for it is that heel turn.
To be fair, I mean, yeah, it was on consideration. I think it's similar to the sort of Roddy Piper and Edge thing. It's like when I think of Hulk Hogan, I don't think of heel or babyface because they're too monumental. I think of Hogan,
yeah,
right? But no, your justification is absolutely fine, and it sort of it echoes what I said about Andre. You know, Andre was a great heel, and the crowd was wanting him to turn on Bobby the Brain. It was the same sort of reaction. No one expected it to go from the. No one expected the heel turn for Hogan. But it was the same sort of impact on it that the Andre one was. It was a case of the crowd were like, holy shit. And that just shows how much of a monumental thing. So yeah, in hindsight, he probably should be on my list somewhere. But no, that's a great shout. And it's Hogan, right? It's Hogan.
Yeah.
There's not many people that could potentially appear on the top 10 best heels and top 10 best babyfaces.
Yep.
You know, so
I've said this probably on one of the most earliest shows that we ever did. I think I might have even said this, and I've said it for a long time. I think there's an argument made for both of those things. Hence why it's my number 2.
Makes sense.
Very close. It's maybe 1A than 2 for me.
Makes sense. Makes sense, Hoxie. Excellent. Okay, we now get to the bit where we have an honourable mention. So me and Hoxie go through our lists. We have a whole host of people that we would love to get on there, but I
have a feeling this week we're going to have the same honourable mention.
I'm
going to throw that out there.
I think we could as well.
Squeaky chair. Squeaky chair.
It's definitely interesting.
I need some WD-40 on this.
Our honourable mention this week. Hoxie, it is your turn.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just sorting my chair out. There we go.
Your honourable mention for the top 10 heel
is Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
It's not.
Ooh! Okay. It couldn't make it on my list because of the fact that, and we've said this a couple of times about MJF, is now. It's right now.
Yep.
But he, a million % is on his way.
Yep.
He's 27, 28. He's got 15, 20 years left on this planet in wrestling to cement himself and cement a legacy as being one of, if not the greatest heels. He could go on to be the greatest heel in wrestling history, in my opinion, because he's got everything and every single tool in which he needs to do that. He just needs a factory of baby faces and really, really good storylines to get involved in. He won't be doing that in AEW. He will do that in the WWE when he gets there. He has traits of every single person on this list for me, give or take a couple. Promo work, it's like Roddy Piper. Working, it's like Triple H. You know what I mean? Like presentation, it's like fucking most people. Flair, Billy Graham, fucking whatever you want to look at. Like, he has every single thing. And in a modern world, we spoke about earlier on, we were speaking about Cody and wrestling and people who should be heels aren't heels and people know it's a work and know it's all fixed and all that bullshit. He genuinely has genuine, real heat.
Yep.
And in 2024, for a performer to have genuine, real heat says all it needs to say about Maxwell Jacob Friedman. This guy is just... We've spoke about him a lot on this show before, John. We've had lots and lots of deep conversations and deep dives on this guy. People who listen to the show know how much we fucking love this guy as a heel, as a performer. MJF's class. I had to get him on this list. I couldn't put him in the greatest of all time because it's not all time yet, but he fucking definitely will be. And there could be an argument to have put him on my list anyway, but I fucking love this guy.
Yeah,
Best right
he
now.
He wasn't on my list. He was my number 2 honourable mention. My honourable mentions flip-flop between these two all week, essentially. For the same reason that it would have been my honourable mention, is because he's still... I think when it's all said and done, when he eventually retires, he will go down as probably one of the best of all time. Not just heels, just in general. Just fucking... He's phenomenal. But my honourable mention, Hoxie Boy, is... This could be a shake moment. I don't know.
I'm really intrigued. I'm ready for this.
You're probably going to shit on it, though. You're in one of those moods this week. I have that feeling. No, it's someone we've talked about before that we feel is really underappreciated, and it's someone that's definitely grew on me over time, and I now appreciate how good of a heel he is, and it's The Miz.
He was my second one.
Oh, well, there you go. Right. So, MJF and him have been flip-flopping all week. I think...
That's crazy. Your number one is my number 2. My number 2 is your number 1 or whatever. That's mad.
And it's so close. It is so close.
They're almost cut from the same cloth, aren't they, really?
Yeah, exactly. Well, fucking Punk said it, right? You're just a less famous Miz.
And Punk knows his shit.
You know...
oh my God.
I know. He was on my list. He was on my wider list. There's so many that we haven't mentioned, mate, honestly. It's ridiculous.
I feel sick to the pit of my stomach.
I think our number 1's probably going to be the same. But yeah, The Miz is very similar, right? Great on the mic. And I'll be honest with you, I hated The Miz at the beginning. You know, when I first started watching him, it was like, yeah, there's just something, I don't get it.
Manufactured bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
It was go away heat for a long time.
Yeah,
yes.
But you've got to respect his hustle, right? It's like he worked at it, and you don't get the big belt as a favour. You get the big belt because you've earned it.
And you don't retain it at WrestleMania against one of the greatest of all time in Cena as well. Yeah,
exactly. You know, we talk about Roddy Piper being a safe hand. The Miz is that exact same safe hand. You know, he will elevate, he will put people over. He's great on the mic. I really like him on the mic. It's genuine. There's a reality. He's a reality star, obviously. But again, you always go back to that talking smack moment backstage, him and Daniel Bryan. You know, it's one of the best things that WWE have ever sort of aired. It's just phenomenal, really underappreciated because of where he came from. But I think in modern day wrestling, he's got to go down.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think we said this before, like in 20 years' time or whatever.
Yeah.
We'll look back at him and be like, fucking hell. We never didn't necessarily know what we had when we had him. Yeah, I can't. Like I said, it was so close.
Yeah, exactly.
Between it, the Miz was on my wider list, and he was like getting closer and closer and closer to being in the top 10. And he was like, "Oh, I'm going for honorable mention." I was like, "Oh no, I need to have him as my honorable mention." It was so close between them pair. Yep, fair play, dude.
Good list so
Fucking
far.
good shit.
Okay, Hoxie, we usually run, before we reveal our number one, we go down 10 to honourable mention. Do you want to go first?
Yes, mate. Just making a little note. For the first time ever, I'm actually making your list next to mine on my book. I haven't, for some reason, I just haven't ever done it. So I've just got.
So I do it every week, so you probably hear me clicking.
Yeah.
It's like I click away.
You can see it when you sort of come in and do the little bits and bobs. So anyway, my number 10 is Edge. My number 9, Andre the Giant. 8, Jit the Snit Roberts. 7, Superstar Billy Graham. 6, Randy Orton. 5, Roddy Piper. 4, Triple H. 3, Ric Flair. Number 2, Hollywood Hulk Hogan. And my honourable mention is MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
Awesome. My number 10 is William Regal. My number 9 is Samoa Joe. My number 8 is Christian Cage. My number 7 is Mr. Perfect. Number 6 is the bad guy Razor Ramon. Number 5, Triple H. 4, Ric Flair. Number 3, Roddy Piper. 2, Jake the Snake Roberts. And my honourable mention is The Miz. Okay, so we are now at our number 1 for the top 10 heels in wrestling ever, in our opinions. My number 1 is the heel of the Attitude Era, Mr. McMahon.
My number 1 is Mr. McMahon as well.
Had to be.
I know I said it was wrestling heels. Mr. McMahon was a wrestler at that period of time. He got in the ring. Yeah, he was the champ, exactly. So that's how I managed to justify that one. But yeah, you go, mate. You go. You crack on.
I mean, let's just talk about it, right? It's like, we've said it already tonight. In order for you to be a babyface, you need a Joker. You need a Lex Luger. You need a Green Goblin. You need a Mr. McMahon if you're Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's it.
The biggest money drawing period of time, pretty much, in terms of wrestling money drawing. I know they've made like billions of dollars and stuff on TV and all that sort of shit. That's very different. It's a different kind of thing. But selling out arenas and pay-per-views and merch and fucking getting into the zeitgeist of the world, that Attitude Era was the period of time. That was bigger than the Hogan thing, the Rock and Wrestling thing, by a long shot. By a long shot. Wrestling was cool. It made wrestling cool. And like you say, every Batman needs his Joker. And Mr. McMahon was perfect. Every single person in the world at some point, in any job they've had, want to punch their boss or beat fuck out of their boss, especially when they were a piece of shit like Mr. McMahon was. Mm-hmm. It's quite funny because we could probably start calling him Vince McMahon rather than Mr. McMahon because they seem like they're pretty much the same person now, which is quite funny. But yeah, from taking the opportunity and seeing the opportunity when the screw job happened, when Brett got done. So rather than hiding away from what happened, they took it, embraced it, and made it work for them and made a character out of it. Character, in inverted commas, of Mr. McMahon.
Three words started that. Brett screwed Brett. That's it.
With a black eye. Brilliant. Yeah.
We've talked about him before in terms of his impact in wrestling. As a person, absolute piece of shit, but you cannot take away what he did for wrestling and take away the promoter side of it. But in terms of heel, to sustain that storyline with Stone Cold Steve Austin for not just the Attitude Era, but still touch upon it in later, like in WrestleManias, etc. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Last year, the year before, whenever the fuck it was.
It's like he can flick that switch, right? Yeah, exactly. He can flick the switch and he can become Mr. McMahon. And yeah, Stone Cold was always going to sort of be the guy, But having Vince McMahon there as that heel that everybody loves to hate, that made Stone Cold transcend to so far that no one can touch, in my opinion.
Even like obviously fast forward when Stone Cold had retired and gone, he was still like the authority figure. He was still that authoritarian. He would come out and fire people, be a piece of shit. He was the Linda McMahon thing. We spoke about this obviously with WrestleMania 17, just in terms of long-term storytelling and payoffs and all of the such. Just her standing up out of a chair was the biggest payoff you've ever seen, because he was that over as a heel, because he had that much heat. There's not many there's not many feuds or storylines in wrestling history ever that would have got that much of a reaction from somebody standing up out of a chair, especially a non-wrestler.
Gives you goosebumps, man. Just gives
it's
you goosebumps
crazy, right?
Yeah.
It's just, even now, well, before now, he would come out and be a prick. Or what, you just, the second that music hit, no chance, you knew you were just about to boo the living shit out of somebody. You're fired. Like, all that shit, just, he made it his own. And him getting his comeuppance, everybody wanted to see him get his comeuppance. Cena had it, and Punk had it. Obviously, with their shit that they did at Money in the Bank, like they've had, obviously Stone Cold had it. Fuck me, I'm trying to think about it. Linda, Shane, Hogan, Brett. Like Brett, obviously the match at WrestleMania. Like everyone's had their go, and it's because he's that much of a fucking heel. It works because people hate him. People want to see him get his comeuppance. Very simple. It's easy, right? It's pantomime.
Wrestling's easy.
Yep. It's the people who make it hard.
Damn right. Do you agree with our lists? I'm sure there's definitely going to be discussions about some of the people on the list, which is absolutely fine. That's what it's all about.
Christian fucking Cage and Samoa Joe.
Fucking Edge. Fuck off. What was it? You've interrupted my flow. Yeah, let us know. It's because fucking hell. Because opinions mean everything and nothing at the same time. Justification is everything, and regardless who was on our list, I think we justified it reasonably well this evening. It's our personal lists, right? We all have different opinions, and it's going to be really interesting to hear what you, the listeners, think about our lists. Let us know what your lists are as well. It's really important. Make sure you email us at wrestlemark10@gmail.com. I didn't mention that earlier on, did I? The email address.
No.
So there we go. You can also tweet us at
Mark. Everyone will be listening now. Don't worry, it's fine.
Fucking hell.
No. Did that sound harsh? Did that sound bad? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, cunt. John, don't worry. Everybody will be listening now. It's absolutely fine. Is that better?
Use the hashtag Hoxie's a cunt on our mark_out of10. You can also get into contact with our socials at mark_out of10 on Twitch, on YouTube, on Kick, on Instagram, on TikTok. Let's fucking start that again. You distracted me, you cunt. Deep breath, composure.
This is why I'm here.
Make sure you follow us on all our socials. Instagram, TikTok, at mark_out of10. Make sure you share the podcast with one friend at least. Give us 5 stars. Why would we do that, Hoxie?
For the algorithm.
For the algorithm, indeed. Next week's episode, potentially we're going to do this in the same room for the first time ever. Who knows? We'll wait and see if we can marry up our schedules. But next week's episode, we're going to deep dive a bit into the ratings, as we've talked about before. But we're also going to do the opposite end of the spectrum from this evening, the top 10 baby faces in wrestling. It's going to be a good one.
We can't do heels without doing baby faces, can we? Right?
Yeah.
This will be. This going to be? It's probably going to be as hard as this month. This week. Oh dear, dude. This is easily the most difficult list that I've done so far.
You just got to think some of the names we haven't got on there, like Bobby the Brain, like you've mentioned before, Jim Cornette, Paul Heyman, fucking Harley Race.
When I was doing my list earlier on, I had JC and
Yeah.
Heyman and like all them. I was like, it's just going to be full of managers. Like if I keep going, so I was like, right, I need to make it wrestlers, and I can talk about wrestling if that makes sense. But yeah, Harley Race isn't on there. Jericho's not on there.
Arn Anderson.
Arn Anderson. Like Bockwinkel's not on there. Fuck me. Who else?
Vader.
Shawn Michaels.
Mankind. Undertaker.
Taker. Yeah. It's crazy.
It's just crazy. The amount, yeah, it's really bizarre. Fee said to me, Kurt Angle. So my wife Fee, she says Kurt Angle because he was a wee shit. I was like, it's actually not a bad shout. It's like, he was a good
Ted
heel.
DiBiase.
$1 Million Man was almost on mine.
CM Punk. The Rock. For fuck's sake. Like, yeah, it's madness.
It's crazy.
Madness.
Who would be on your list of top 10 heels and who's going to be on your top 10 baby faces? But until next week, thank you very much for listening. And I'm Shields. Good night and goodbye.
I am Hawksy. Have a great one. Love you guys. Bye.